Welcome to my world. Come on in and make yourselves at home. Welcome to my life. I know everything's gonna be all right. Welcome to my world. Oh, won't you come on in? Welcome to my life. It's known as the Tiger's Den. Greetings to all of my subscribers. I want to thank you for being with me for as long as you have, and the new subscribers that's coming on in. We want to say greetings and thank you for your time. This is from Toothless and the moderators. Welcome to the Tiger's Den. Greetings and welcome to the Tiger's Den. This is the voice of Cheryl, and I am Toothless Tiger. Well, here we are, the day after the election, and Fani Willis pulled it off, as she knew she would. And I'm going to say congratulations, in hopes that she's going to change the way she do business. Unfortunately, I don't see that happening. Right before the election, she went on a tour. And of course, I made a small video about it. But once she won the election, up popped the devil in a blue suit. And when I was looking at her giving her victory speech, when I first looked at the dress, it appeared to be black. And so I guess maybe that's black sequence over blue. But I found it rather strange that they were dressed just like her DAs. They all coordinate in their dress. And I think that's strange, but that's just one woman's opinion. Normally I try to wait to see how many people would come in, and sometimes people come in, sometimes they don't. But the show must go on. In the Tiger's Den, what I try to do is give a true depiction of what I see. As true as I can be, because I don't know the characters in the play, and I can only go by what is put out in the media. But my hope is to give people a look from a normal, individual, everyday citizen perspective. Sometimes I get it right, sometimes I get it wrong. One thing I know is I get it. And it's unfortunate what's happening and how it's happening to us as a people, and we don't seem to comprehend what's happening all around us. So I'm going to start off with some of the explosive news stories that's going on. You know, I hear a lot of different people tell a lot of different stories about how many investigations that Fani is under. And I think one of the things that we as lay people are missing, and certainly if you don't know the Constitution of the state of Georgia, and that is she keeps claiming constitutional officer. And believe it or not, those words have power. And unfortunately, people abuse power. But when I look at the investigations, I couldn't find all of the investigations that I hear different people make videos about and get hundreds of thousands of views. I think that it sounds good and makes for a good storyline, but I don't think it's steeped in reality and truth. And we all say that we're integral and we're honest and we're truthful and we're questioning her ethics, morals, and values. But I haven't learned to play that part of YouTube. I see a lot of titles that when I go in and look at the video, it has nothing to do with what the title said. And I thought they called that clickbait, but I guess that's just creativity. Kind of like what they're doing to Young Thug, using his lyrics against him. But it is what it is. One of the posts that I saw was the New York Post. And she also made reference to this when she was on the Rachel Maddow show. It appears that Fani has run this race on two major cases. When she's with the Asiatics, she's talking about the gangs and the trauma and the crime that she's brought down. And I just saw an article today where they found a man lying somewhere in Atlanta. I think it was Southwest Atlanta or something to that effect. I don't know exactly where it was, but it was on the western side. And not to mention the people that has been shot and some terminated in the week leading up to the election. I hear her talking about the fear and giving all praise to the sheriff who has really protected she and her family, which we never even hear of her family. Every now and then she mentions her father, who lives, by the way he said, in California, but I don't know where he lives today. But she did honor him as she should. And she gave an honorable mention to her children, as she should as a mother. But all of this danger that she speaks of, I did a show about it, and there was a news station and they couldn't get any information under the Freedom of Information Act. Not because they failed to release it, but it did not exist. So, I don't know about all of the threats and the dangers. And I know that people say weird and stupid stuff. They do that here on YouTube. So I can imagine what that could be like in reality, and especially in a position where you hold the key to people's future. Literally, you make the determination whether they will be prosecuted or not. And it seems in this regime, it's luck of the draw or whomever I choose. In her speech, she spoke to the rule of law. But in her practice, she does the color of law. And then I don't even know if she does the law, because you have so many people languishing in the jail that has not been indicted. I also saw an article where the people, the protesters, she hasn't touched those cases. As I listened to the Senate committee hearings, she went before them, her commissioners, seeking monies for some real serious issues. But when she was funded, she decided to take the money in another direction. Perhaps that's her right. I don't know. But what I'm going to do is go ahead and get started. And I'm going to start with the New York Post. Hey, Madria. Good to see you. New York Post, and this was written on May 21st, 2024, the day before the election. Fani Willis suggests creation of Georgia's prosecutorial oversight panel is racially motivated. Now, we know in all lines of politics, the majority is not Asiatic or any other ethnicity. They're European. And in this oversight committee that's in the Senate of the state of Georgia, they have 9 senators that's investigating her. What I learned is they don't have power to do anything to her. Perhaps sanctions, and certainly they can look at changing the laws that allow the person to do the things that she's done. And they've already changed one law to include the behavior of the DA, where they have power to help remove her. And that's why she thinks she's above the law, and she snubs her nose at different people, because she knows there is no power. They can just question people under oath, gather information, and perhaps when it moves to another stage, then they will be the fact finders for those individuals to bring her to account. And it's a dangerous thing when you have that kind of knowledge and you laugh in people's faces. When you're with the Asiatics, you remember the mother who may have lost a son or a daughter to something horrendous or heinous. When you're with, quote unquote, America, the Europeans, the Asians, the Latinas, and all ethnicities, you're talking about Donald Trump and how he tried to overthrow an election that didn't happen. But just because he tried, you want to bring him to charge, and that's your right as a district attorney. Does it make sense? Is it feasible for the people in your district? You say and you brag that you are the only DA in the United States that are in the schools. But what are you doing to the schools? Are you processing the children and preparing them for prison? Because when you had money allocated to help the children, you didn't use the money for that purpose. And so to tell me about a great idea, I'm going to tell you, I have great ideas. Most of them are not going to be brought to fruition, but I do have beautiful, grandiose ideas. And a lot of the people, I'm assuming, that voted for you, looking at the numbers, are people that attend the churches of those great old men that were standing on those stairs with you. And when you look at how you can divvy out money, then we know the reason that people stand with you. And like you said, you're not doing anything unlawful. You're doing what you're doing in the confines of the rules. Manipulated, but they're the rules. And a lot of us don't understand rules. We understand emotions. And we get caught up in the minutia and the emotions as opposed to learning the rule and see how we can bring a person to charge. At least to live up to what they took an oath of office to do. And that is to uphold the Constitution of the United States as well as the Constitution for your state of Georgia. But it says, and it's written by Victor Nava, embattled Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis suggested on Monday that the creation of a new prosecutorial oversight panel in Georgia is racially motivated Greetings, Regina. Good to see you. Georgia had never had a prosecutorial oversight committee, Willis told MSNBC host Rachel Maddow when asked about the state Senate Special Committee investigation. All of a sudden, 14 minorities were elected to office to serve as district attorney, she continued. And now, all of a sudden, they need an oversight committee to look after district attorneys because they want to tell us how to prosecute and who to prosecute and where we should put our resources. I think that's the one that they want to tell them where to put their resources, as opposed to allowing the voters that put us in the seats to make those determinations, because actually the voters have no input on where she put her resources or who she chooses to prosecute. Willis also called House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, Republican of Ohio, illegitimate during her interview with Rachel Maddow, MSNBC. The new disciplinary board, approved by the GOP-controlled state legislature earlier this year and signed into law by Republican Governor Brian Kemp in March, will have the power to discipline and remove prosecutors from cases in Georgia found to have engaged in misconduct. They use false reasons for wanting to come after me, the district attorney said Monday. What is so ironic is, although it's only 14 of the 50 DAs in the state of Georgia, most of the citizens report to our jurisdictions. So although we're smaller in number than the other 36, most of the population has elected these minority DAs to serve them and has trusted their judgment, Willis argued. But apparently, we now need Daddy to tell us how to do our job. Very, very, very arrogant. And we have to learn how they play on words and how they use words to touch the heartstrings of the unlearned. And it doesn't mean that you don't have the knowledge that you have, but you don't have this knowledge. Isn't it ironic that she said, Daddy? That's more or less an Asiatic vernacular. Most people in other cultures rely on the word father a lot. And we have to pay attention to those things, because certain words are said only to speak to your ignorance. Willis could be investigated by the new Georgia Judicial Oversight Panel. That's according to the Associated Press. And if you see the operative word, it said could. It didn't say that she is. It said could. Willis, 52, also railed against House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, Republican Ohio, who subpoenaed the DA back in February over allegations she's mishandling federal funds. Jim Jordan has time after time after time attacked my office with no legitimate purpose, she claimed. Anyone who knows Jim Jordan's history knows that he only has the purpose of trying to interfere in a criminal investigation. So these are people that we know this history about, but these are the people that we have in office. So no one is truly interested in the people. They're just interested in sabotaging each other, is what they're making this about. He has now turned his tricks to his going to look at grant programs, which I invite him to do. And we have complied with the subpoenas, she added. But yet he continues his attacks to try to interfere in a criminal investigation, all while his jurisdiction has one of the worst crime rates, has poverty issues, and not one time has he used his position to try to investigate people who are attacking me and attacking other legitimately doing their job, making him illegitimate in his position. It's disgusting, Willis said of the congressional probe. Now at the state level, they've decided to follow this clown's lead. Nathan Wade resigned from the Trump case in March after Fulton County Judge Scott McAfee issued an ultimatum, forcing either him or Willis to step aside in order for the case to move forward. And that was in Reuters. A spokesperson for Jordan did not immediately respond to the Post's request for comment. The Georgia State Senate Special Investigation Panel held its third public hearing related to the Willis probe earlier this month, which delved into the amount of money the DA's office has spent prosecuting the historic racketeering case against Trump and his co-defendants, and the lack of oversight over government entities have over the district attorneys. I got to get that right. And the lack of oversight government entities have over the district attorney's office. Willis has vowed not to appear before the panel, questioning state lawmakers' authority to issue her a subpoena. And that's that article. Regina said, this Fani Willis is going to get enough using racism for everything when she ever gets caught out of questionable behaviors and doesn't want to be questioned or held accountable. That is so true. She's just playing from their playbook, and that's what I took away from that article when she talked about now they're going to go get daddy, because all she's saying is what I've been saying all along, and what was written back in 1952, Silent Weapons for Quiet Wars. This is the system that's been in place when there were nobody in these positions but European men. So nothing has changed about the rules, and you can hear everything they're doing is not about the heart of the people. It's the party line. And all they're talking about is the issue they have with one another. If we vote Democrat and we vote Republican and they both hold office, stands to reason whoever make a decision is going to be one of those two. Why is it necessary for them to remind us which one it is? It's the same reason it's necessary for them to tell us that we're African American and they're American. And nothing is further from the truth about the American. You see, when you look at the landmass, it all was once the same thing. And it's not much different now. It's just separated by oceans. We got to research. We really do have to read and learn. If we're interested in a new tomorrow or better today, we got to put in the work. So, she won. Victory, victory, victory. And that's the picture I have on. The admitted side chick. And she has on her blue dress. Reminds me of Devil in the Blue Dress. And then you have the adulterous husband. He has his blue suit on, looking like $1 million. And his wife is suffering from illnesses. And he refused to do his part. And we don't talk about that part. Because it's private, they say. And it should not be in the public. But they're public figures. open to public scrutiny. So the headline reads, ousted Trump prosecutor Nathan Wade shocks guests with appearance at ex-lover Fani Willis primary election victory. And boy, with the smile on her face, you can tell. Old Nate was in the house. And color coordinated. I don't believe that was a coincidence or by happenstance. I think they're just slapping us all in the face and playing it the way the game has been played for hundreds of years. And that's, for me, where the problem is. Because we say that if we have an opportunity to do better and to help our people, that's what we would be found doing. Unfortunately, I haven't found that to be true of most people. I do believe that some people go into their positions with a heart for the people and willing to do whatever they can, and they get there and realize this is a machine that they cannot control by themselves. That's why you're supposed to go into the offices and you're supposed to make, allies. You're supposed to work across the aisle. And a lot of these people are friends apart from the politics. And that's probably why we get mistreated so as a people. Because of those relationships. You look at other countries, they have universal medical, they have paid leave every time you're off, and we have the worst medical system. All we have is big pharma, and everybody is lobbying and working for them and telling us it's illegal to use herbs that grow naturally. We have a problem. And it's a people problem because the people won't get involved. You choose people to speak your voice, not theirs. But if you never speak, then they are left to their own voices. The article goes, Nathan Wade shook revelers at Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis primary election victory party Tuesday when he strolled into the event, all smiles. Wade, the former special prosecutor whose love affair with Willis resulted in him being forced to resign from the historic criminal case against former President Donald Trump, was among those gathered at an event space in Atlanta's Buckhead neighborhood to celebrate the district attorney's landslide win. Well, consider me shook, Atlanta Journal-Constitution and reporter Tamar Hallerman, and maybe that's Hallerman, wrote on X after spotting Wade dressed to the nines. The 52-year-old prosecutor's victory over attorney and author Christian Y. Smith comes as she faces multiple investigations launched by state and federal lawmakers over her alleged misuse of taxpayer money and relationship with Wade. We can't keep turning a blind eye to what's going on in that office, Smith argued on the campaign trail Monday. Great argument. And he asked her to step down, but one of the things that we know, if you ever played any sports or played any game, no victory comes in quitting. The victory comes in playing it out to the end. Whatever it is that you start, you play it out to the finish. Someone probably would hear that speech that he gave, as eloquent as it was, maybe even meaningful and truthful, and they would have just thrown in the towel. But a fighter won't do that. No. because they know the rules. And they know the only way that they can be defeated is if they give in. It's the same with a lot of these children, even adults that are arrested, convicted of crimes they may have committed, they might not have committed. But the secret to that is confession. And as long as you confess, you just gave them your freedom. But if you look at court cases like I do, and I look at a lot of court TV, and not just court cases, I like investigation discovery, all types of stories of what's happening in people's lives and how they play out. You will find 9 times out of 10, the one that knows their Miranda rights, they know they have the right to remain silent on the fifth, and they take it and don't confess, no matter how guilty they look, no matter what we just witnessed them do. Those individuals 9 times out of 10 are the individuals that walk away with their freedom. And that's just how it goes. He said, chaos, corruption. It's time for us in Fulton County to stand up and take our justice system back, he said in his plea to voters. Well, number one, the question becomes, when did you ever have the justice system? Because for the 20 years before Fani, you had a man who was an Asiatic who played the same game and did the same things. He didn't get an opportunity to bring charges against an ex-president, but certainly he played dirty pool. Regina said, it is so obvious that the Fulton County District is not paying attention to the facts and details of District Attorney in her office. It was highly blatant and disrespectful for Wade to show up. And to show up matching her dress and grinning like he the life of the party, and the party don't start till he walk in. You know, that's the way he walked in, 5 minutes of fun. That was very disrespectful to the whole county, to the whole America, and certainly to Mrs. Wade. Willis, who was first elected to head the Atlanta area DJ office in 2020, saw her profile dramatically rise after leading the historic criminal investigation and subsequent indictment of Trump over his alleged involvement in a plot to overturn the Peach State's 2020 election results. Willis made no references to the Trump case in a recent 3-minute campaign ad in which she touted going after gangs and violent offenders. Again, that's her base. So that's really who she wanted to tell that to. Those are the people that attended all of those churches of those ministers. Those are the people that she's going after, or allowing her staff to go after, and that the police are going after, and the people are going after one another. So she knew exactly what she was doing and how she was going to run the campaign. Okay. We've seen the 3rd largest crime drop in America, she claimed in the campaign spot. And I don't know where those statistics come from. She mentioned San Antonio and another Texas city. I don't recall which one it was. I think it was Austin. I'm not sure. But she mentioned 2 Texas cities. And she said she's going to leave them behind. She predicted Monday that she would win big over Smith despite the allegations of misconduct against her. With about 55% of the ballots counted at 8 p.m. Tuesday, Willis had nearly 90% of the vote, according to the Associated Press. And that can be one of two things, or it could be both and many more. Name recognition and fear. Because one thing we know, they rule in fear, not in knowledge, not in humanity, but in fear. In January, nearly 5 months after charging Trump and his 18 co-defendants, 4 of whom have pleaded guilty, in her sprawling racketeering case, allegations surfaced that Willis had an improper romantic relationship with Wade, whom she hired to handle the 2020 elections case. And it was so funny hearing her talk about the lady that she's going to meet in November from the Republican Party. She keeps iterating that lady has no experience as a DA. And then, if you notice, she says she's been practicing law for under 4 years. That means something. People ought to want to know, what does that mean? Why does she keep saying that? If you recall, she only practiced law as a practitioner, sole practitioner, 3 years before running for office. She left the DA office because working in the DA office didn't make her, she was practicing under the county's rule, but she wasn't practicing as a practicing attorney of her own volition. So you have to be practicing law at least 3 years to run for that office. So it's amazing to me. She said that this lady has been practicing less than 4 years, but she meets the 3-year criteria just like you did when you ran in 2020. But if you're not educated in that issue, you wouldn't know that, and you would just say, oh my, this lady has no, experience. She hasn't even been practicing long. All it takes is 3 years. But she throws the 4 in there to throw you off. With tangled webs we weave. A lot of people attack her, the person. I don't know her, the person. I don't like the countenance that I see, but I don't know her. I am attacking her ethics and what she's doing to the people. And she's no different than the daddy that she says that's the oversight board of the 14 Asiatic district attorneys. Those are my issues with Fani Willis. I care not really who she sleeps with. I think that she's just as low as they come, and so is he. But I mean, we all have low moments. And you could go in my background and probably see some things you would say, oh my God, not this ethical woman. Yeah, ethical people do things that sometimes are unethical. So I understand that part of it. But it's the playing on lives. I gave y'all a quote not too long ago, and the doctor was from Ghana, and I can't call his name, but he said, if you teach a man, you teach an individual. But if you teach a woman, you teach a nation, a family. And that's because she can reproduce herself. She's the nurturer, the first teacher. And this lady is not a good example of what greatness that she may possess, because she's not using it for good, no matter what she say. It's maybe for her good to further her career or her ambitions, but it's definitely not for the good of the people in which she served. Because I don't believe she believes she served them. She believed they served her. And that's dangerous. Let me see, where was I? In February, Willis admitted to having a personal relationship with Wade, and her paramour was forced to resign from the Trump case by Fulton County Superior Court Judge Scott McAfee. And I made a small little video congratulating him for his win and his position. Something about that young man that I like. Something about the way he handled his courtroom, although he let her get away with what he allowed her to get away with. And I understand a lot of people think it's just because she was his boss. I don't believe that was the reason only. I think it's because of the way he do business. And she is a boss, whether she's his or not. Her position is one of honor, whether she shows honor to it or not. It is one of nobility. And it is one where it is written in the book that everybody say they believe in, give honor to whom honor is due, even when they're not being honorable. You can't let anybody take you out of who you are or off your square. You have to remain in honor. Now, you may have to distance yourself from that person because you're not going to take their blatant disrespect and dishonor. Her opponent, Smith, entered the race for DA late. Yep, he did. Way too late. And is less known. That was one of the problems, name recognition. But he's ran before. He ran before, but he's not campaigning throughout, in the meantime and in the between time. It was predicted that Fani would win over him in the primary. Yes, it was. But come November, Fani, the hypothetical reality star, will lose. I believe that too. And she's telling them to go get the t-shirt, go get this, go get that. This girl has no experience. All you gotta do is practice law for 3 years and be licensed, and she's met that criteria. She has these big packs behind her. Well, we just seen where you have George Soros and Act Blue behind you. There's no way you raise $300,000, $500,000 and money is coming from all over the country. And she's asking the country, and that's why she was on Rachel Maddow. I understand it now. I was hoodwinked by Rachel Maddow when Barack Obama ran. I was hoodwinked by MSNBC, but then when you look at all of these news stations, they all favor one or the other. That's why you got to do your own work. You got to know for yourself. What to know about District Attorney Fani Willis' trial. Fulton County, Georgia, District Attorney Fani Willis is being accused of misusing state and federal funds and also engaging in an improper relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. Willis admitted to having a personal relationship with Wade, but said it didn't become romantic until after 2022 due to the case against former President Donald Trump. And let me tell y'all just how they lying in our face and want us to really believe this. And, we really need to start paying attention. If we have to take notes when we look at stuff, we need to get a pen and a paper and take notes. And that's only if you're going to make it relative to your life and how you're trying to orchestrate your life and the life for your children or your grandchildren or your nieces and nephews, whomever you come in contact with. But if you look at, timeline, That's why in order to prove anything, you gotta have a timeline. Without a timeline, then you can say anything about anything and then it could be true. But once you start sticking that time and filling in the blanks, a perfect picture will emerge once all the dots are connected. If you look at, she said she met him at that conference in 2019. They don't speak of 2020. And when she was asked about 2020 on the stand, she went into this great dissertation talking about she didn't want to divulge the man's secrets, but he had an illness and they didn't see each other. That was 2020. 2021, she took office January 1st, 2021. And she said that she had to move out of her home. It was around February, or was it April? Because they kept playing with those months. Both she and Wade kept playing with those months. Okay, so let's just go February and April. Well, that's when she moved into Robin's apartment. Right? She brought Wade on in November of 2021. Now, both she and Wade pretend that they didn't start dating until around March or April of 2022. But also both stated, mainly the DA, I don't know if I want to I'm trying to think of what I want to call her. Dishonest is what that D stands for. A, I guess, could be angry. So she dishonest and angry. She said she moved out of that lady's condo. It was February. She said the end of January, maybe the middle of February, because she remembered paying her for February's rent. She didn't want to, leave her stuck out, so she went ahead and paid half of February. But that was 2022. Now, they didn't start their romance, they said, until February or April of 2022. Now, she says that definitely by March of 2022, she had took him on a trip to Tennessee for his birthday. It was his birthday, and she wanted to give him a nice outing. He said that they went to Tennessee to have lunch. They didn't tell those stories right. It's funny, though. It's real funny. Because they were broke up. So all of those phone calls had to be before the Trump case. It had to be before he took office in her office, because he didn't take office in her office until November the 1st, 2021. So, they just gave us the picture. Nobody was listening or paying attention. I'm sure Regina and we were. But the majority of the people probably missed that. Regina says, so was I too, Miss Tiger. How wicked by these news media outlets. You definitely have to do your own research and pay attention. Yeah, you do, because as bad as she is, I don't want to be bad or just talking about her just to be talking about her. I'm talking about her because she is a public figure and she's noted to be talked about. But, I say a lot of things. I tell everybody. I talk about everybody I know, good, bad, or indifferent. Doesn't necessarily mean I know you personally. I can just know of you. And you do the same like I do. All humans do it. And of course, we know it's not all of nothing but the all. So I understand that there is a number out there somewhere. I'm sure some scientist or mathematician could get it down to the exact number and let me know that the ones that don't, I'm sure. But that's not my issue. I'm general speaking. Generally. I'm just going to say what Regina said. In my opinion, they are still dating. Yeah, they never stopped. And that's the opinion of the wife and her attorney, and they know it. They have proof. They never stopped. I don't know if people looked at my video I did where I showed where she lied and said that she has to pay for her home and where she's living now. But actually, the county and state of Georgia is paying and has been paying since 2022. Since 2022, when she had to leave Robin Yurdes. Now, she said she left in January or February. The lady at the hearing, Miss Whitmore, I believe is her name, she stated that they've been paying since about mid-2022 up to today. So come the 1st of June, they will be paying her mortgage and her rent or whatever they paid. And she believed it was up to $4,000, but she was not sure. Taxpayers are paying for this in the sense that we say taxpayers are paying for things. They showed everyone that yesterday when he showed up in blue to match her dress. She may think it's love, but he got paid and just waiting for more. And he did get more. He received two $53,000 checks right before he went and filed a pauper's paper with the court asking them to modify his payments that he made in the agreement to keep her from having to give a deposition. They are playing the game like their daddy, but they don't really understand how the game really goes because the rules change in the middle of the rules. And most of us are not flexible or wise enough. I have a cousin who used to be a very big man here in Dallas, Texas, Fort Worth area. And one of the things he taught us younger in life is that nothing happens by happenstance, and they're not going to ever let you get so high that you don't think that they have something to reel you back in. So they're having fun, as she announced at her party. Well, we know she has security. We've seen that all throughout the trial. And then she had a gentleman in the car, and she looked like she was in the driver's seat, standing through the sunroof, and he was leaning out of the car. Nathan has to know that he's been replaced, and he's just one of those. I don't know if anyone in here can remember the commercials that they used to have on, I think it was NBC, but it was the thrill of victory and the agony of defeat. That's what he is to her, a boy toy at this point. And she don't mind paying to play because she has higher goals. And then when I researched him, they said that he was some little off-brand director, and he has a movie that he did. So he's into theater. I believe it was more to the Robin Yurdes story because I think he knew her because they were in Hollywood together. And she played one or two small parts in what was that, The Family Business, and it was another picture that I read, and I shared it with you guys. and she was her stylist. So I believe he dressed her for this night. She doesn't have the savviness to pick out an ensemble like she had on. And she's 52 and too much cleavage for a woman of stature, a woman of valor and honor, and a mother. Now, if she was at the picnic, she can do what she want to do. You know, in my opinion, I don't care how old you are, whatever. You do what you want to do in your own personal time, you. But in representing what she say that she want the young girls to look at and aspire to be, that ain't it. And then at the mic talking about, and your D ain't gonna be drinking Grey Goose tonight. That wasn't called for, and it wasn't funny. We cannot do what others do. We're held to a higher standard by nature herself. We don't come from that stock. The stock comes from us. We are the example. Whether we want to be or not, everybody's looking at us. Everybody is trying to mimic us. Everybody have taken what we knew and used it against us. And we are so divided amongst ourselves that we can't even see the forest for the trees. Virginia said exactly. Willis' home and cars, etc. is being paid for by Fulton County taxpayers. She's a liar. Yeah, I want to know what happened to them 20 cars. And I've been looking on that checkbook to see where he bought that $200,000 Mercedes-Benz Sprinter for the sheriff. I've been so into their story, I didn't realize that our sheriff, who is an Asiatic woman, Sheriff Brown, and she's great, fantastic. She has a runoff for her seat. And the person that's running against her is an ex-sheriff, Lupe Valdez. The Judge Joe Brown been telling us all the while they've been bringing all these immigrants here for the numbers for the seats in Congress, the representatives, and the districting of your districts. But of course, we don't know politics, so we don't pay attention and we don't care. A lot of things we do is because we were told that's what we're supposed to do. We don't question. Because as children, we were not allowed to question. Some of us, most of us, not all of us. Fani said her father taught her how to be tough and how to fight. That within itself is frightening. My daddy taught me a lot of things, but he taught me how to live in a colonized society that pretend that we are free, but bound us by fees, licenses, things that are rights, unalienable rights. They make them privileges and then take away your privilege. And we, the people, allow it to be that way. Not supposed to be that way. Let me finish. I think I read this, but I'm going to read it again. Fulton County, Georgia District Attorney Fani Willis is being accused of misusing state and federal funds and also engaging in an improper relationship with Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade. Willis admitted to having a personal relationship with Wade, but said it didn't become romantic until after 2022 due to the case against former President Donald Trump. But she brought him in a year before, and they started preparing special grand juries in 2021. She met him in 2019, and I don't believe it was a coincidence, happenstance, or accident that they were introduced by the judge, she said, that introduced them outside of the classroom. And they exchanged cards. Well, she know he gave her his card. She's not sure if she gave him her card, but she know that he left and walked to the parking lot, and he told the same story. Their stories mimicked each other. Willis hired Wade to work on the Trump case and paid him $654,000 in 2022, according to Trump co-defendant Michael Roman. And I think that what they leave out of this equation, and I think it's very important that we say this, because she was paying Wade before he ever was in a contract with her. She started paying Wade January the 25th or 6th of 2021, when she hired his law partners and their law firm to do her taint work that now she's trying to back away from and don't want anybody to know that these men did this. She think they did it for a month or two. That's all this money they talking about, that Orca money that she got supposedly for the extra employees, but they gave them money, the $75 million, and she got a percentage of the $75 million. I haven't heard how much. I don't know if they're going to do it in this meeting that's going to be coming up, but they should have gotten all the documents by now. They didn't have them at the last video that I showed. But she gets $36.6 million for her budget. Then they gave them the $75 million that they had to split with the other parts of the judiciary. And again, that's my reasoning behind why this judge in the Young Thug trial acts the way he acts. Because of the money that's tied to these people. These people don't want to give those opportunities up. And he is supposedly a brigadier general. And he does the service a dishonor, just like he's doing in that courtroom. I want to believe he's a good man. One or two decisions may be good, and then he goes totally left. And I understand he has PTSD. I understand that. I understand the Americans with Disabilities Act give you the right to perform your duties as long as you can perform the job. But sometimes the tangents that he goes off on, and then he practices from the bench. He's literally doing the case law search, and I know his job is to interpret, but he's actually laying the case for the dogmatic Miss Love, who attended Georgetown Law School, by the way, so she thinks she's more prestigious than the rest of them. And she definitely knows how daddy work, because Georgetown is one of daddy's schools. We got to start researching and learning how this thing really operates. Trump and his co-defendants are looking to disqualify Willis from the case and to have all charges centered around the state's expansive anti-racketeering RICO law dismissed. The defense has presented dozens of pings from Wade's cell phone that placed it at Willis' rented condo prior to 2022. A former friend of Willis who owned the condo has testified that she saw the two of them hugging and kissing in 2019 and 2021 and 2022, and she's heard about them and have seen them, I'm sure, in some social settings in 2023 and 2024. She took a big loss, and what made her run into that courtroom with that backwards dress, I'm going to show y'all that clip in my mind that sent her to that courtroom like a Brahma bull huffing and puffing with a backwards dress on, and these people were diligently fighting for her not to take the stand under the subpoena. And she walked in and said, forget the subpoena. I'm here and I'm ready. I guess you could say she said to hell with the subpoena. I'm here. I'm ready. Let's go. And then she proceeded to take over, she thought, the courtroom. But Judge McAfee is so laid back, so cool. If you want to know what cool looked like, check out Judge McAfee. Because he did that. And he put her in check and never lost his composure. I synced that with my own eyes. This ain't nothing nobody told me. This ain't no clickbait. This is what I observed. On March 15th, a judge ruled Willis can stay on and prosecute the Georgia election interference case against Trump and his co-defendants for allegedly trying to overturn the results of the 2020 election if Wade steps down. And I'm sorry, let's say it aside. Wade collected nearly $654,000 in legal fees since 2022 from the Fulton County DA's office for his work on the Trump case and allegedly paid for multiple lavish trips he took with Willis while employed by her office. And then that Jones guy, the Senator Jones, the Democrat, he wants to say that most Americans, the average Americans of four, go on a vacation and spend $4,700, and most of us can't pay our light bill. I mean, shame on him for that. On Capitol Hill, House Judiciary Committee Chairman Jim Jordan, Republican, is investigating whether Willis misused federal money received from the Justice Department during her investigation into Trump. Willis has accused Jordan of attempting to interfere in a criminal investigation and being illegitimate in his position. Senators Chuck Grassley, Republican of Iowa, and Ron Johnson, Republican of Wisconsin, are running a separate probe into whether the Fulton County DA misused federal funds. At the state level, a special committee in the Georgia Senate is investigating potential conflicts of interest and misuse of public funds by Willis related to her relationship with Wade. Willis has vowed not to testify in the state Senate investigation, questioning lawmakers' authority to subpoena her. Willis will face Republican challenger Courtney Kramer in the general election in November. The district attorney has blasted Kramer as unqualified to serve in the role. Well, I would venture to say Willis is too. Because you're supposed to do the right thing because it's the right thing to do, not because people are overseeing you and telling you what to do. That's childish. And Paul says that when he was a child, he spake as a child, but when he became a man, he put away childish things. When you reach the age of maturity, then you have to act in that maturity as an adult. And you put away the childish things. And you start operating in adulthood. Fulton County Superior Judge Scott McAfee, who was randomly assigned last year to preside over the Trump case, also defeated his opponent Tuesday in a nonpartisan election. All elections you would think would be, but they're not. They're party line, party line, party line. The 34-year-old jurist was appointed by Republican Governor Brian Kemp in December 2022 to fill a vacant judicial spot, and he will now serve a full 4-year term starting in January. So now the people's choice. He's definitely that today because the people chose him. McAfee beat civil rights attorney and media commentator Robert Patillo. He had received strong bipartisan support to keep his seat on the bench ahead of the election. And I believe that he just joined the pot because they didn't know how McAfee was going to go. And he followed the law. And look at this creature. I mean, that looked like the creature from the Black Lagoon. But he really thinks he's in the know. And I think he wants to be Leon. You know the actor Leon? I think that's the way he wants people to view him. But he doesn't have it. You know, some people have that it factor. He's trying to make it happen. People with the it factor, it is already. Former prosecutor Nathan Wade arrives before Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis speaks after winning the Democratic primary on Tuesday, May 21st, 2024 in Buckhead. And then here we have, and Regina, I don't know, I got to go look on that website again, but I almost want to believe that's Cuffy standing right there next to her to the left. And I'm going to say the lady to the right with the lanyard around her neck, I'm going to say, this is me saying, I don't know this to be true, that's her new stylist, supposedly. You know, she hired the media company, that's what Robin Yurty did. Took care of her interviews with all of the news stations, her makeup, and styled her. And I must say that she does look pretty on this picture on the outside. But she's overdoing it. She's going too far. And, you know, Puff Daddy taught us about, he and Cassie, about the white fingernail polish. I'm sure that that's just something that they said, but when you look at a woman dressed to the nines as he was, and white fingernail polish, and he enters the room, then your mind tends to go other places. And this goes, Willis, who was first elected to head the Atlanta area DA's office in 2020, saw her profile dramatically rise after leading the historic criminal investigation, and that's what Reuters said. And then, I think this is last but not least, this is her formidable opponent. And I believe she's about 32 years old. Willis will face Republican challenger Courtney Kramer in the general election, according to the Associated Press. And this is Willis, where I was telling you guys about Wade. He's really in danger. Looking at this right here. Willis is facing multiple investigations into her use of taxpayers' money at the Fulton County DA's office. And that's Eric S. Lesser, EPA, EFE, Shutterstock. That's where those photos came from. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is our reading for today. And let's get into our storytelling with our videos, and let's hope that they will play for us. I appreciate everybody for being here, although Virginia and I are the only two having a conversation. We're having a good one. Virginia, I'm glad you're able to come in and speak because I know you're multitasking. Maria came in and dropped links for us, but she's also multitasking. You know, she's always had two jobs, but she's taken on some extra responsibilities. And so she does her best to make it. But I understand sometimes when you can't. Okay, remember I said I want to show y'all Nathan Wade, what made this woman come busting into the courtroom. We got to see if the video is going to come up. For some reason, every time it rains on the night that I'm due to come on, and we had such a bad storm right before. But I want to show y'all the picture. I'm trying to see, one of my videos didn't come up, and I don't know why it didn't. I don't know which one it is either. But this is the moment, the pivotal moment, y'all, that made her come running. Because she was watching, although she shouldn't have been. She pretends she wasn't. She was pacing back and forth. That's not true. She'll never make me believe that. Never, never, never. But this is the moment that made her come barreling into the courtroom. When she heard this question and she saw this answer, it sent her to a whole nother dimension. Trust me, it did.
Let's talk about Tennessee. You booked a cabin in August 2023 and paid for a cabin in Tennessee. That's when you paid for it. I don't know when the trip was. Can you tell us about that?
August of 2023.
Mm-hmm. You booked a trip for one.
Are you asking me, did I take that trip with Miss Willis, or are you asking me?
First, I was just asking you to acknowledge that that is correct from the records, that you paid for a cabin in Tennessee. And your memory, you recall.
Where are we now? What page is that?
I'm just asking from your memory. Do you remember paying for a cabin in August?
But if he's going to be asked about a particular transaction, then
You can answer whether he remembers or not.
I don't.
Mr. Wade, I'm not asking you to go through 1,000 pages of records. I'm asking if you remember paying for a cabin 6 months ago in Tennessee.
No.
You remember booking a cabin?
I booked lots of cabins.
Did you go to a cabin with Miss Willis ever?
Ever?
Ever.
No.
You've never gone to a cabin with Miss Willis?
No.
You ever gone to Tennessee with Miss Willis?
Yes.
Okay. When was that?
That was around 2022, early 2022.
Early 2022? Okay.
It was a day trip.
Okay, so you didn't spend the night?
So it was a day trip.
Okay.
We would drive there, have lunch, drive back. The reason we would do that is because the attention she would get in my car and drive to someplace off the beat path and have lunch and drive back.
Is that when you went to Fani Goat with her? I think it's in Jasper, Georgia.
No, that's in Georgia. I don't recall going to Fani Goat with her.
So the Tennessee day trips were only Tennessee?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever do these day trips in Georgia?
Do we drive anywhere in Georgia?
Yeah, you were
Of course.
talking about day
Yeah,
trips
we
going
drove.
out.
Now, Mr. Willis explained that trip a little different. He said it was a day trip. She said they spent the night. She was sure they spent the night because it was his birthday. And she wanted to take him out for his birthday. Yeah, he is. Not at all. Yes, I agree wholeheartedly, Regina. 100%. Be sure to hit the like button, everybody that's in the chat and that's in the bushes and the trees in Aruba, on the beach, in Belize. Be sure on the cruise ship. So that's what made her go barreling into the courtroom. Number one, he went to a cabin without her. Number two, it was shortly after she said they had the tough conversation when they broke up. Excuse me. Number three, he played off the Tennessee trip and she took him there for his birthday. And they spent the night, but he said that it was only a day trip. Number four, he dismissed them ever going anywhere on day trips in Georgia, and she said that they did. So she knew she had to come and do what they call damage control. And she believes she's the only one that can fix it. You can tell she's a control freak, and she's not one that allocates things out. She has to do it all. And that's going to be to her own undoing. Okay, let's see, what video is this? Let's go back, because this is the most important thing that is really getting the goat of everybody. And because this lady said she's a constitutional officer, you can't tell me to lie on a piece of paper and say I need 55 investigators and attorneys and district attorneys, and once you give me the money for that lie, I decide to now tell the truth and say, oh, I decided it's going to best suit me somewhere else. This is Ashley Merchant when she was breaking down the monies to the Senate hearing committee. And I thought that was very interesting and worth revisiting, because as Fani said, she won the primary, but the race is just beginning, because she knows that she has a formidable opponent. She knows that. She may have some of the people fooled, but not all the people. Ashley breaks this down eloquently. Some would differ with me, Regina. But here we go. Before I play this, let me say, all their fun and games is off the hard-working people tax money of Atlanta, Fulton County. Pay your alimony and support your children in their endeavors, Wade. And I second that emotion. I know it's a motion, but I'm thinking about Smokey Robinson. One moment.
We're back in order. We were reviewing the billing practices, the contracts that the various outside counsel had, and I pulled up here one section of Mr. Wade's bill for the really early on in his involvement in the case. As I recall, it began on November 1st of 21, so this would be out of his first bill. I see on November 5th, prepare case for pretrial, 24 hours on one day. What do you make of that?
I mean, I thought it was astonishing that, you didn't sleep for 24 hours. I've been to trial. I've been to trial and had to work long hours, but 24 straight. But we did question him about that at the hearing, and he said that that's when it was concluded. So how he explained it was November 5th is when the work was concluded. And so he had done that work up until then, and that he only billed when it was concluded. So he said that the 24 hours, who knows when it spanned, but that how he billed was
Would have had to be between November 3rd and November 5th, though, right? So it had to be on the 4th and the 5th, 12 hours a day?
It had to be.
At least.
And, the other thing that I noticed with this is prepared cases for pretrial. At this point, it says anti-corruption unit. His two law partners are the conflict lawyers for the anti-corruption unit. So you've got it's like my husband couldn't represent someone who's adverse to me. Like, my husband is my law partner. He can't be doing privilege review on a case I'm prosecuting. So he's consulting on anti-corruption cases for the DA's office, where his two law partners are doing the privilege review at the same time.
And that's very important, and I think we don't pay enough attention to that. Everybody act like they just so upset about him getting the $600,000, but you have to look at these men started working for her. She started on the 1st of 2021 of January. I guess you could say the 3rd, because the 1st is a holiday, and the 2nd is getting into office and everything. But they started on the 25th or the 26th of January. And they had to have gotten that contract because of her relationship to him. And he said that they split everything 3 ways. So they were making $420 between the both of them. And so $420, that's an hour. We've never seen their invoices to see how many hours they were putting in on a daily basis. Perhaps they too were working 24 hours a day. We don't know at this point. So that $600,000 could be well over $1 million. We do not know, because she received quite a bit of monies in addition to federal and state grants. The portion of the $75 million, she got an additional $5 million. She asked for an additional $1.1 million for Tex MacGyver, and we don't know what has happened to that case, if she retried it or not, because they didn't make it newsworthy. We've only been talking about the Young Thug and the Donald Trump cases. We've not been talking about any of the other cases that the DA's office is supposedly prosecuting, and I find it hard to believe, because you have so many people in the county jail that's unindicted, and the indictments normally are handed down through the prosecutor's office. But it's very important that we take note about these men making the money that they were making. Let's keep it going.
That plus the 24 hours are the two things that really struck out to me.
So, but the only role he had was this prosecution of this election fraud.
Yes, the only role.
Okay, so when it says anti-corruption, that's the corruption we're looking at, election interference.
Yes, he's never worked on any other case.
All right. Let's see that other bill there, Senator Dole's on. All right, so here's another one, if you can see that okay. This is the one we put up earlier. It looks to be much more specific date-wise anyway than just those 24-hour chunks like that.
Right. I mean, it's more specific, but it doesn't say what, like, just for example, team meeting and argument prep. Argument prep for what? I mean, normally when we do bills, we would say, argue motion to dismiss or argue whatever the motion is. Research, what are you researching? Researching statutory privilege, whatever it is.
Now, this one, he shows date ranges when it's over multiple days, like down at the bottom, 426 to 427, 18 hours. I'm reading that right, or 16 hours. But on that previous one, he just has 1 day, 24 hours.
Yes.
And you say these are approved by Fani Willis. By contract, she has to approve these billings.
Yes, she does. And those are approved by her. So if there were any questions, and as a lawyer, when we submit bills to clients, they regularly question, and I know when I've done appointed work, they regularly question that as well. You have to list exactly what you're in court for, exactly what you're drafting. You can't just say prepared cases. You've got to say, what did you prepare? What did you draft? So, I mean, the county, in Cobb County, for example, they make you actually attach motions. If you do like an appeal or something and you're billing for that, you have to actually attach it to prove that you did the work. I did go back at the break, though, and I have an answer to one of your questions earlier. Just wanted to clear up. You had asked me when the special purpose grand jury had convened. I looked. The state filed a response. So this is DA Willis's response that was filed on February 2nd. They wrote on
this response to your motion to disqualify?
Yes, sir. Response to my motion. On page 13, they wrote, shortly after his appointment in January 2022, District Attorney Willis petitioned the Chief Judge of the Superior Court to convene the Superior Court judges to consider her request for the special purpose grand jury to conduct an investigation into the facts and circumstances relating directly or indirectly to the possible attempts to disrupt the lawful administration of the 2020 elections of the state of Georgia. And they attached that exhibit. So you had asked me earlier when she petitioned. So it was, in their own words, shortly after his appointment.
Okay. So this whole the cases are about attempts to disrupt, because obviously Georgia certified Biden as a winner, and he got inaugurated, that following January, and this is years later we're having this whole investigation.
Yes, attempts, and my client specifically is charged with attempt and conspiracy, so he's not charged with actually doing a specific act, he's charged with conspiring and or attempt, depending on which section you're talking about in the charges.
Some of these itemized statements show drafting.
Yes.
Did Mr. Wade draft any documents to your knowledge, or prepare any legal documents at all?
No, not that I'm aware of, and that would be...
Did he sign any pleadings as if he was the drafting attorney?
No, and he's not the one that usually files them. Will Wooten is the one that usually does the filing. There's two other prosecutors that also do it. Alex, and I don't want to butcher his last name, starts with a B, but he does it, and then Grant Rude. Anna Cross has also filed pleadings, but not Mr. Wade.
In your review of all of his billings, did you ever see where any of his time or bills were cut or reduced by whoever was reviewing them and approving them, either Ms. Willis or her deputy?
No, I never saw any questions. And her response, or their office's response, doesn't indicate that was ever done either.
And your experience when you were doing like your public defender work, that you were reviewed and they cut your time?
Oh my gosh, yes. Yeah, when I first left the public defender, I had a couple clients that were in the appeal process, because at that point I was in the appeals division when I left, and I didn't want their cases to linger, and I didn't want a new lawyer to have to kind of just pick up right when they were going to the appellate courts. So I kept some of them. Some of them the judges appointed me, and so I would be paid, I think it was $50 an hour, $45 an hour, something like that. And then some I just took pro bono, but I had to get those bills approved. I mean, they were regularly cut.
On Mr. Wade's contract, he was allowed to bill, he was capped. He could not bill more than $35,000 in any given month.
Yes. And that was not, so the original contract before the special purpose grand jury was started was a lower cap. This was the cap for the majority of his work during the special purpose grand jury and then now. So he had a contract November 1st, 2021 up until October 31st, 2021. And the cap was lower for that. Then there was a period of, I think it's 15 or 16 days where he did not have a contract. Which also happened to be one of the times they were out of town. But so they re-upped the contract November 15th, and then it had a cap but the cap was significantly higher. I mean, like, I don't remember the first cap, but it was not 35,000.
Here is a document you produced. I think you prepared this summary that shows all the payments that he received.
Either I did this or this might have come from Fulton County purchasing.
So that was produced to you from Fulton County as
Yes.
all the payments he received?
Yes, this was produced from Fulton County, yes.
And what's the total? Is that just, my eyes aren't so good. That looks like 22 all the way through 23.
Yes, 22 through 23. So and so his first bill would have been paid in January of 2022. So he billed for time in November and December, and then you see those two bills. And so those were $15,000. I believe that was the cap. So in January he was paid for $15,000 for work in November, and then in December he had work totaling $15,000, and he was paid for both of those in January.
That's why there's those top two invoices for $15,000.
Yes, that's why there's those top two invoices. And they produced some other documents to me as well that showed which funds they came out of. So I was able to track which ones came from state seizure money and then which ones came from county general fund.
And that was all before this grand jury was even approved.
The grand jury was not approved until June of 2022.
Okay, it was requested in January.
It was, and I just looked that up at the break. So it was requested in January. It was approved in June. The order, actually. But what happened was they started picking. So it looks like they started picking the grand jurors on May 2nd of 2022, and they actually started hearing evidence June 1st of 2022.
Okay, so lots of this time was way before he would have been having to question any witnesses or attend grand jury hearings or anything.
Yes, he could not have attended a grand jury hearing until at the earliest May 2nd.
You were talking about the experience and expertise of the three outside, I'm going to call them outside counsel, because they were not direct employees of the DA's office.
Correct.
Had Mr. Wade ever tried a felony case, prosecuted a felony case before this, to your knowledge?
No, that he has never prosecuted a felony case. And I asked his law partner that, who had been his law partner for some time, that he had never prosecuted that. I also did some independent research in the metro areas where I knew that he had worked in Cobb County, so I looked to see if he had ever been filed as a prosecutor in Cobb County for felonies, and he was actually just a solicitor, and solicitors is, because you said not everybody may understand the difference between solicitors and district
We've got
attorneys.
an ex-solicitor on this panel, so don't say anything negative about it.
So he can tell you all about it.
That's going to come back to bite her too, Regina, because, she keeps saying that this woman has no experience. Ma'am, you put a man who only does traffic tickets part-time to prosecute the ex-president of the United States. How can you keep talking about this lady don't have experience? She does practice. This man takes ambulance and divorces, and he won't even file and go through with his divorce. He filed it, but he's playing games.
They prosecute misdemeanors, right?
Yes, and in Cobb County specifically, they prosecute misdemeanors, yes.
Okay. It looks like he's pretty much hitting the maximum that he was allowed to under his contract.
Yes, most months he did.
And this is through that block billing that was not specifically itemized exactly what he was doing or how much time on each task.
Always block billed. He never itemized bills. Never was specific.
What were the caps for the other two special counsel? Were they also limited? I assume you've received their contracts, or did they have a written contract?
They did. So they had written contracts, and I do have those, and they did have caps. They were significantly lower than Mr. Wade's. They do not currently have contracts, and I just found that out at a hearing because we had asked for that. We had asked for it in open records, and then I had subpoenaed it as well. Pretty much every subpoena I filed for the hearing, the state filed a motion to quash, including this one, and Ms. Cross was at the hearing, and she said, I can just tell you right now I don't have a contract. So I had thought, I was under the impression that they just weren't giving me that contract. I had no idea that they just didn't have one. So apparently right now Mr. Floyd and Ms. Cross don't have contracts.
Do you think that was intentional so that they don't have to disclose how much they're earning?
I think it was sloppy.
Okay, we saw that one. Let's move right along.
This morning, the U.S. House Committee is once again.
Now, this one I'm about to show you guys just came up 11 days ago because, you know, they're asking now Nathan Wade about his paperwork at Congress. And he has been playing like he's Fani Willis and he's protected and he's not going to provide it. So that's what this is about.
And trying to get information from former special prosecutor Nathan Wade. Representative Jim Jordan sent a second request for Wade to turn over documents relating to the Fulton County election interference case. Good Day's Lindsay Tuman is live in downtown Atlanta this morning with all the details. Lindsay, good morning.
Good morning to you, Alex. Yes, this is the second request that's come in to former special prosecutor Nathan Wade. The first one came in back in January requesting 6 different categories of documents, all relating to his employment under the Fulton County District Attorney's Office. And according to this letter, Wade had not responded at all to that one. Now they're asking again.
The United States Committee on the Judiciary is continuing an effort to gain information from Nathan Wade. Wade was the special prosecutor on the elections interference investigation involving former President Donald Trump and 19 others. He stepped down from the case in March after defendants filed a motion accusing Wade and Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis of an improper relationship, also accusing them of benefiting from the investigation. Since then, the committee has asked Wade to provide documents relating to his employment with the District Attorney's Office. According to the letter, Wade has not complied or responded to the request. The committee wants the documents to help inform legislative reforms it's considering, including an effort to establish guidelines for the use of federal grant funds and another that would help move certain criminal cases from state court to federal court to protect against politicized prosecutions. The letter calls this case a politically motivated prosecution against the former president and says Wade was paid nearly $700,000 since May of 2022, saying that money came from tax dollars and a federal grant. It further says Wade met with the January 6th committee and President Biden's White House counsel.
Now, back in January, this initial came in, we leaked about it, and they said that Wade does not have to comply with this request. Subpoenaed. We'll have to see if that happens with this new request as well. For now, the House committee is asking him to submit those documents by May 16th. Reporting live from downtown, I'm Lindsay Tuman for Good Day Atlanta.
This morning.
And since he's so integral, you would think that he would just turn him over because what we do right because it's the right thing to do. Not always. I want to share now. I don't know if y'all have heard this one, but it's just as American as apple pie. Let's do American as apple pie. And give me a moment. I'm going to have to pull it up because it's not here. I had it waiting, but unfortunately, when I be doing this, sometimes things get out of order. Everything so far is going pretty good the way I had planned it. Watch history. Where is that little video? It's just like 2 minutes. But I want y'all to hear this because it's very important to know just where this snake is coming from, what rock he's coming out from under. Here it is. It's coming, it's coming. And then it stopped. Okay, here it comes. Okay.
Case against former President Trump and others in Georgia. But in March, a judge's order forced him to resign after it was revealed that he had a romantic relationship with Fani Willis, the Fulton County DA who hired him. Now he's speaking out for the first time about that relationship.
Workplace romances are as American as apple pie. It happens to everyone. But it happened to the two of us.
Do you regret it?
I regret
Notice he never answers the question that's asked. And this is really going to make you just want to slap yourself upside the head.
became the focal point of this very important prosecution. This is a very important case. I hate that my personal life has begun to overshadow the true issues.
Some point, once that bond is there, and if democracy is on the line, as has been described, do you say, maybe we pause this until after the case is over? Absolutely, absolutely. I'll concede that could have been an approach, but there again, when you are in the middle of it, these feelings are developing, and you get to a point to where the feelings are so strong that you start to want to do things that really are none of the public's concern. Wade and Willis have both publicly said that relationship ended in 2023. Much more of my interview with Nathan Wade tomorrow on Good Morning America and ABC News Live Prime.
Shocking, isn't it? Shocking. He thinks he's off the hook, really, but he doesn't know he's in for a rude awakening. And perhaps he thinks he's so smart, he's going to be the fall guy. She's going down too, but he's going to feel it. Yeah, it is triggering. Okay, so now that we heard him talk about the love affair and it's triggering, and well, we said it was triggering. He said it was relationships in the workplace is as American as apple pie. Now he's on all of these exotic trips. He's coming to the banquet and he's dressed to the nines. He and the, I don't know what lady you call her, if you would even call her a lady, the DA, dressed in matching colors. She looks radiant. She spent some money on that weave. Maybe she went and dipped in the cash at the crib, or they went and dipped in his trust account where he's hiding all the money. But now we're going to go and hear about what happened with his wife. We're going to hear a little bit about when she first filed the contempt charges, but she filed papers just the other day on the 16th, I believe, of May. And we're going to hear what that's about. I just played that little small part because that's all that he really said. I could go find the interview, but he didn't really say anything. You know, he talks roundabout and round the way and trying to pretend he was so important, his role and what he did as the prosecutor in that case. But I just played that little bit is what I thought caught my attention. But if you want me to play it, I'll go and look for it while this is playing. This is really worth hearing because this just shows you the caliber of a man. You can put him in a $4,000 suit, $20,000. I don't know what this suit costs, $20, but you cannot put honor and valor and integrity into a person that does not possess it. This is Phil Holloway, the attorney that brought us the whistleblower interview. He was going over some papers that was filed as Joycelyn strikes back, as he says. Nathan's been lying, is what she said. There goes that odor of mendacity again.
And it looks like the divorce drama involving Nathan Wade, the former special prosecutor for Fani Willis in Fulton County, and his wife, Joycelyn. You may remember back a few months ago when the entire Fani Willis thing really broke, and the fact of the affair and all this, we started also watching the divorce case that's pending between Mr. and Mrs. Wade in Cobb County, Georgia, which is next door to Fulton. And that was where the marital home was. You remember from the testimony in the disqualification hearing, there was testimony about cell phone data tracked Mr. Wade from his home in Cobb County down to the Love Shack condo in Hapeville, Georgia, where apparently Nathan was shacking up with Fani Willis, and that whole thing became just an entire separate thing in and of itself. But what it did, let's just say it caused a splash, and it created additional litigation in the context of the divorce case. Willis was even scheduled, she was subpoenaed and scheduled to have to give a deposition about the affair. She was able to, I guess, file motions to quash it and all this. She pushed back real hard. But then, if you remember, they reached a settlement before there came time for any hearings that would have required evidentiary hearings, like testimony from Nathan Wade or even from Willis. They settled it. Well, I mean, what else is going to bring the parties to the bargaining table better than perhaps a lot of public pressure to get the thing settled? Because the last thing you want to do is have to testify more about this than you already are going to have to. All right, so they came to the bargaining table. They reached a settlement, but it wasn't a final settlement. Okay, at least in Georgia, when you have a pending divorce, a lot of things have to happen before you get a final divorce. You're still married, but you're going through the divorce process. Usually early on, at some point anyway, before the end, there's usually a temporary agreement, particularly when people have kids, and then there's issues of who may or may not need spousal support. There will be an agreement. Well, if there's not an agreement, you're going to get an order. A judge is going to force this on you. You're going to have a hearing. Somebody's going to ask for a temporary order. If you can't reach an agreement, you're going to have a hearing, and the judge is going to tell you what the temporary order is. And what the temporary order does, or a temporary agreement, if they come to an agreement, it governs the parties' conduct with respect to each other for the pendency of the litigation. In other words, until it's over. And when it's over, there's a final order that replaces the temporary or interim order. Now, that order also, it will do things like establish who pays who spousal support. And that's based on the relative circumstances of the parties. Who makes more money, who has more money, who's got other bigger needs and things like that. And children, are they minor children? Are they adults? All of those things are issues in a case that ultimately have to be decided in a divorce. But until you reach the final result, there's something that's temporary, because by definition, people who are divorcing can't get along. So you gotta have a court order that forces them to follow it. And if they don't follow it, you can ask the judge to hold them in contempt for not following an order. All right. So that's the 10,000 foot overview of sort of what's happened up to now in the Wade versus Wade divorce. All right. And by the way, there's 412 people in here at 4:00 in the afternoon Eastern time. And thank you so much for being here. I love to see it. Go ahead and hit that like button. It helps people find this channel who have maybe a curiosity in how the law works, or whatever. And also hit the subscribe. Make sure you like and subscribe, and tell all your friends and your family and your neighbors, everybody you know, tell them to create 5 or 6 or 7 different accounts and subscribe from all of them. No, I'm just kidding about that. But I am trying to get to 30,000 subscriptions. I'm over 28, I think, now. So we're trying to get to 30. That's the next goal. If you'll help me get there, I would really appreciate it. And if you like the content, there's links in the description for how you can support Inside the Law. All right. So with all that said, I know everybody's furiously hitting the like button as we speak. Okay. So now let's take a look. This is not what was filed today. This is the defendant's application for a citation of contempt. And I want to, let's see if I can make that a little bigger. And then I've done a separate video, I think, on this, but I'm going to point out some of the highlights. It says defendant's application for a citation of contempt. If you notice here at the top, Nathan Wade's the plaintiff, Joycelyn is the defendant. So Joycelyn is telling the judge that Nathan is not following the temporary order, and that because of that, she's asking the judge to do something about it. Contempt can mean any number of things, but in an extreme example, it could mean jail. We're not there yet, though. All right, so she points out that on January 30th of this year, 2024, the court entered a consent temporary order, one like we were just discussing. It was reviewed and approved by the court. They agreed it would not be filed with the court, but that it would nevertheless be the order of the court. And they didn't file it because they don't want us to know what's in it, which is not, look, that's okay. It's not, when you have a high profile divorce, people don't want the general public knowing all of their business necessarily. So it's not uncommon sometimes for parties to agree that the contract or the order that the judge issues is not going to be public, but it became public later. We'll get to that. All right. Here they actually start quoting from it. The temporary agreement states as follows: the plaintiff will pay uncovered medical expenses for the defendant. So Nathan has to pay Joycelyn uncovered medical, apart from any elective cosmetics, a cap of $500 a year. The defendant will forward invoices to plaintiff, who will pay them instanter. That means right away to the medical provider, or make other arrangements. Plaintiff will be notified by defendant, and plaintiff shall arrange for payment instanter. All right, so this is providing for the immediate payment of medical bills. Here you go. 3, it says defendant urgently requires medical procedures, namely an endoscopy, colonoscopy, and an ultrasound due to severe physical symptoms she has been enduring. These symptoms have significantly impacted her ability to consume foods. She's lost a lot of weight, and was in worsening health, she says. And I'm just kind of skimming here, folks. This is all out here for you to see and take a look at. But for our purposes, I'm just going over it very briefly to sort of set the stage for the next thing. It says the defendant has notified the plaintiff of the urgent necessity for these medical procedures and the need for prepayment of $400 specifically, and she has communicated that the medical facility will not even schedule these vital tests that she says she really needs until there's been a prepayment. Despite a direct request, in other words, she called Nathan herself and asked him to do this. So despite a direct request and an additional demand between the lawyers, plaintiff, that's Nathan, according to her, has failed and neglected to fulfill his obligation to do that. So he's not paying the medical bills she needs. Goes on to say, on the day immediately following the entry of the temporary order, the plaintiff, Nathan, informed the daughter, who's an upperclassman in college with hopes of entering medical school in the near future, that he would discontinue payment of her rent and living expenses, instructing her to, quote, get the money from your mother. It was noteworthy that the daughter's rent was due that very day. So Nathan, if you look, reading between the lines, Nathan had been supporting his adult daughter, as parents oftentimes do. Oftentimes voluntarily, right? It's just kind of part of being a parent. Sometimes you support your kids even after they are over 18 in many instances and in many ways. But he apparently, according to this, stopped and said, get the money from your mother. It's noteworthy that the daughter's rent was due that day, demonstrating the defendant's unwavering commitment to her children. She promptly covered the daughter's rent payment and has continued to do so every month thereafter, with the money that she receives in spousal support under the temporary order. Okay, so what was going for spousal support is now being diverted to the daughter's needs. And it says the plaintiff has punitively reneged on his commitment to cover their daughter's MCAT expenses as well. The MCAT being the exam that you take. And if you make a high enough score, you get into medical school, right? That's the sort of the entrance exam for medical school. He punitively reneged on his commitment to cover her MCAT expenses. Moving on to the son, it says the son is currently in Europe pursuing a career as a professional soccer player. Now, those are those athletes. Professional soccer players are the most athletic people on the planet. Anyway, back to the law. Despite the plaintiff executing a verified affidavit to the country of Spain affirming financial responsibility for his son's expenses for visa purposes. See, in Spain, unlike America, when they let foreigners come in, they got to make sure that the foreigners have a means of support and are not going to become dependent on the government of Spain to take care of them, to feed them and house them and clothe them and give them health care and everything else. So that's how Spain does it. He had to have a verified affidavit affirming financial responsibility for his son before they would even let him in Spain. He subsequently informed his son shortly after the temporary order was entered that he would no longer be providing support for him either. telling the son to, quote, get the money from your mother. In response, and unwilling to leave their son in a foreign country without support, the mother has been covering all of his expenses as well, including costs for the visa application, et cetera, et cetera. Plaintiff's sudden cessation of support for the party's children has placed the defendant in a dire financial situation, resulting in monthly income of less than $1,000. Additionally, defendant cannot currently work due to her health. As a consequence, she finds herself in a worse financial position than she was prior to the entry of the consent order. She acknowledges the court doesn't have jurisdiction over the expenses of the young adult children. However, she gives this information as context. Lastly, pursuant to the order, the plaintiff was to pay a total amount of $15,000 to Frazier Dieter, the firm employing the defendant's financial expert. It says plaintiff personally provided a cashier's check made payable to Frazier Dieter in the amount of $15,000. Defendant's counsel, who sent the same to Frazier Dieter by FedEx lost the package. And defendant's counsel requested plaintiff to have the plaintiff address it with the bank. So it says here, upon information and belief, what that means is a lawyer says, I've got a good faith basis for saying this. Plaintiff had one contact with the bank who wrote a letter saying that they did a, quote, deep dive and it would be 90 days before they could reissue the check. I thought you could just go cancel or stop payment on the check and get them to cut a new one. And even if you can't, if this is something that's, urgent, write another check and get the other one canceled later. But in any event, apparently there was nothing else done. It says plaintiff's multiple willful failures to comply with the terms of the temporary order constitutes contempt of court. So they go on asking for a hearing, attorney's fees, so on and so forth. All right. So this is what I offer you by way of background. All right. Before we move into today's filing, let's check in on the chat. I see that you guys are doing a lot of talking in here. A lot of it I'm not able to see. I will go back, by the way, and try to watch the live chat in the replay. Unless I've got to do any editing, the live chat will be something that I can go back and view. And I do enjoy reading the chat, looking through it and seeing what people say to each other or things that they may say to me that I miss during the live stream. So I appreciate all of your comments. If you have a question, if you'll help me out, preface it by saying question and then ask your question. And that way, when I look over and see it, I'll see we've got a question. For example, obviously S. Carr is saying happy Friday from Cobb County, and happy Friday to you. This, of course, being the county that we're talking about is Cobb County. It's where this litigation is going on. And then we have, obviously, I see you guys, like Sherry is making a comment here to the entire group. Oh, guess what? We've got Senior Chief is back with us. Senior Chief, all right. So last night I was with Eric Hunley and his wife, and Eric's also former military. He's in the Army. And we were talking about you, and I hope your ears weren't burning too much, but we were talking about you, and we were talking about, we didn't think that we could handle being, in a submarine and being claustrophobic. But anyway, Senior Chief spent an entire career, became senior enlisted non-commissioned officer in the U.S. Navy in the submarine service, and he is with us again. And thank you very much for the super chat. Always appreciated. That's what helps us continue to provide additional and new content for the channel. All right. Now, let me make one change here, and I want to add a different court filing. Let's say share screen. I'll go to these windows. All right. This should be the right one. Defendant's amended response. All right. So now, let me make this a little bigger for you guys. Hopefully you can see it. The defendant's amended response to plaintiff's emergency motion to modify consent temporary agreement and request for emergency hearing. So after after the last filing that we just went over, around that time, Nathan Wade had said, look, Fani Willis's money, the checks have been cut off. I'm not getting the checks anymore. My circumstances have materially changed, and therefore I'm asking the court to go ahead and modify and amend the temporary agreement because I'm making less money. Okay, so he called it an emergency motion, and so now he's amending his emergency motion. Okay. I'd said that wrong. The defendant, Joycelyn Wade. See, this is, you gotta have a whiteboard. You get confused. I keep thinking he's the defendant in this case. He's not. He's the plaintiff. So she is amending her response, and this is why it's so interesting. So apparently, by the way, here we have more lawyer talk where it says comes now. I mean, I don't know why lawyers can't just say, here's what's going on. They just write like in plain English, but I do it myself. I'm guilty of it. I don't understand why we do it this way, however. All right, so the defendant is amending her response to the plaintiff's emergency motion to modify the consent temporary order. And here's what, get into the meat of it. It says that on April 8th, plaintiff filed this emergency motion to modify the consent temporary agreement and request for emergency hearing. It's premised on the plaintiff's contentions that his resignation as a special assistant district attorney in Fulton County, I guess technically it was, but when you're told that you got to leave by the judge, is that really a resignation? Anyway, his resignation in that case constitutes a substantial change in circumstances, rendering him unable to meet his financial obligations. She says, she being the attorney for Joycelyn, goes on to say, due to plaintiff's consistent failure, that's Nathan, due to Nathan's consistent failure to provide accurate or timely discovery responses in this matter, the defendant sought, listen to this, guys, updated financial documentation from Fulton County regarding plaintiff's employment as a special assistant DA. The response provided to the defendant by the Fulton County Chief Financial Officer revealed that the plaintiff was issued 2 checks dated 3 days before he filed his, quote, emergency motion to modify his support order. And these 2 checks totaled $53,000. So we have an additional $53,000 coming from Fani Willis to Nathan Wade. And 3 days later, he files a pleading with the court saying that his financial condition has deteriorated to the point that he wants to get out of his support obligations. That's what that means. That's what that means, guys. $53,000 more dollars. And that was been this year. That was like 2 months ago or something, right? So, and she says there appears to be no plausible explanation other than the plaintiff's deceitfulness. You know, I'm sensing a theme.
There's nothing more powerful than the odor of mendacity.
Anyway, I get distracted by that. There seems to be no plausible explanation other than deceitfulness, mendacity, to justify his pursuit of emergency relief, essentially alleging insolvency. Which, if you're insolvent, it means you're broke, completely broke. If you're insolvent, when in fact he had received $53,000 only 3 days before, as additional evidence of plaintiff's lack of candor and deceit towards this court. There's
nothing more powerful than the odor of mendacity.
Deceit. I'm sensing a theme here. Is it just me, or do you guys sense a theme? By the way, if you hear anything, if you hear me say anything and you disagree with it, you think I'm full of crap, just put it in the comments. I want to see what you think about all this. Whether you agree with me, whether you don't agree with me, engage with the chat. And if you're watching this on replay, let me see what you have to say in the comments. And I do look at them a lot. It's kind of like one of the death scrolls. I tend to look through on my phone. I'm looking at the comments when I got spare time, and I will reply to a lot of them. And I like to see when you agree with me. I like to see when you disagree. I just want to hear what folks have to say and think about it. All right. Anyway, by the way, there's over 1,000 people in here now. Welcome. For those of you who weren't here in the beginning, we are going over the latest in the divorce drama between Joycelyn and Nathan Wade. And now Joycelyn is claiming that Nathan is lying to the court about some things. She's already asked the judge to hold him in contempt, which could possibly include throwing him in jail, but we're a long ways off from that. And so we're just going through what this latest is that's come out today. I mean, this thing has really heated up. I thought that it would have been settled by now, but apparently these folks are, particularly Joycelyn, she is digging and digging. Her lawyer, is contacting Fulton County and finding out, exactly what the situation is. How much money is he getting in all this? Additional evidence of plaintiff's lack of candor and deceit towards this court. Both checks and corresponding invoices to Fulton County pertain to work performed in October and November of 2023. Plaintiff did not resign until March 15th, 2024. Okay, so he's being paid for work from last fall, but he did not, quote unquote, resign until March. You know what she's getting at? If you know what she's getting at, and you hadn't read ahead on this document that I got on the screen, tell me in the chat where we're about to go with this, because this, what to me, is fascinating. All right. What she's getting at is there's more money coming from Fani to Nathan. That's what this is coming to. All right. Plaintiff did not resign until March 15th, 2024. Thus, it is reasonable to infer that there are further outstanding payments due to plaintiff that likely have not been dispersed as of the current date. Attached here too are exhibits A, B, and C. A and B comprise checks from Fulton County made payable to plaintiff, accompanied by corresponding invoices detailing work performed. Exhibit C consists of plaintiff's resignation letter dated March 15th. Defendant, so in other words, she doesn't know yet, but she knows that he's been submitting invoices, and he's only been paid through like October of 2023. So yeah, there's probably a boatload of more money that's coming. And so she's like, he's not being honest with the court when he says that his circumstances have materially changed to the point that he needs to be relieved of his support obligations. Well, he relieved himself of a lot of his burden when he voluntarily decided to stop supporting his adult kids, the one that's trying to get into medical school and the one pursuing a professional career in soccer over in Spain. So he lightened his burden there a lot. But Joycelyn clearly doesn't believe that he is as destitute as he is essentially claiming to be. My words, not his. He's never claimed the word destitute, but he's claimed that in these pleadings that his financial circumstances have changed to the point that he needs to be relieved of his obligation to support his wife according to the consent. It was an agreed upon order. It wasn't an order that was forced on them by the judge. It was an order the judge signed, but it was based on an agreement that they made when they came to the bargaining table when Ashley Merchant found out about the affair. That's what it was. Defendant Joycelyn has incurred additional attorney's fees to defend against plaintiff's baseless motion, which is completely devoid of any justiciable issue of law or fact and could not reasonably be believed that the court would accept the same. It lacks further substantial justification, thus entitling defendant to attorneys. So she's going after Nathan for attorney's fees for basically, as she says, filing frivolous litigation. These motions that he's filing, she says, are frivolous. She says it's frivolous on its face because he's still being paid at least up through March. and he's still got outstanding monies owed to him, according to her, from Fani Willis. And so I want to know what I wonder if we are ever going to know exactly how much money she paid him up through the 15th of March. When Ashley Merchant filed her motion, it was over 600-something thousand, but that was as of a certain date that was well before the fall of 2023. So he continued to work on the case, and if his billing habits are any indication, he billed a lot for several more months. I'm guessing it's going to be closer to $1 million. If I had to guess, I'd say it's 900,000. That would be my guess. I'm going to ask somebody who might know. Probably as soon as we finish here, I'm going to start seeing what other people who know about these things think. But I would say it's pushing $1 million. All right. 1,351 people. If you all hit the like button right now, that will help other people who are interested in this subject matter, who are interested in the court system and the legal system. It'll help them find this channel. The more insiders we have, the better. Also, 1,363 people who are watching this live. Hopefully, you're all subscribers, and if you're not, just go ahead and subscribe. It doesn't cost you anything. And if you want to join as a member, that's great too, because all the support, any support, helps me to continue to provide additional content like this. What we do here, for anyone who's new, is we use things that are in the news. Or things like this that we've all been following. We use actual stuff. And look here today, we're looking at pleadings. We do this so that people who aren't familiar with the real world court system, legal system, justice system, it will bring you inside the law so that you can see the world that I see in my career, having been doing this for, 28 years or so. I'd have to do the math, but I want to share this world with you. So this is why we explore it. And if you subscribe, or if you know somebody else who's interested, have them subscribe, because that really helps the audience grow, helps the channel grow, and we can continue to bring additional content. I can't wait to see when I go back and watch this replay. I can't wait to see the live chat. Cindy, I agree with you, Cindy. I think I'm brilliant too. No, I'm teasing, but I appreciate that. Look, I am not brilliant. This is really kind of ordinary stuff for me. It's not ordinary for you, so that's why I just try to share with you the way I'm always right. Other people have other ways of looking at things, and you may disagree with me too. And I want you to tell me if you disagree. That the comments that are supportive are obviously nice to see, but the comments where people, hopefully you're going to disagree in a nice, polite way, but I want to hear what you have to say if you see it another way. I do appreciate the comments and the thoughts. All right, guess what I'm doing tonight? Okay, Eric Hunley and I, y'all know Eric? All right, we're gonna when Eric is going live in about an hour with Mark. They're doing their America's Untold Stories, and so as soon as I get through watching America's Untold Stories, I'm going to get with our friend Eric Hunley, and we're going to go see what kind of trouble we can get into down here in Florida. So if any of you know any bail bondsmen in this area, let me know, because we might need them. But in any event, I always appreciate seeing people come in here, particularly this time of day with very little notice. Before we go, I want to give you a very quick Fani Willis update. Okay, I did it the other day, and I'll give you the abridged version of that update right now. I think the President Trump has now filed. So he's, I think, the last defendant in the Fulton County RICO case. He has now filed his notice of appeal. If I'm wrong, y'all will tell me, but I think I think today was the day, or maybe yes, I think it's been filed. So now all the defendants have filed their notice of appeal. So the case where they're seeking to have Fani Willis disqualified is squarely in the Georgia Court of Appeals. And the next thing that'll happen is the parties are going to start briefing the case. They're going to start filing legal pleadings that will be much more lengthy than the short pleading that we've gone over here today. But guess what? We can come here inside the law and we can go through them together, and we can read them and we can digest them and we can analyze them and talk about them almost in real time. And I promise you, as soon as I get my hands on any of them, we'll come in here. I'll do a stream, even if it's short notice, and we'll talk about it. And we'll be able to see what the parties themselves are saying as to why Fani Willis needs to be disqualified from the case and the case dismissed because of her alleged malfeasance and misconduct, etc. We can also see what Fani Willis says in her responsive pleadings. She'll go after they'll file their pleadings. She'll file her briefings, and then we're going to see what we call amicus filings. You're going to have outsiders that want to inject their legal opinion. So you'll see lawyers filing what's called amicus curiae briefs, friends of the court briefs, alleging or asking the court to go one way or another. So we'll get to see some of that, I'm sure, as well. And in a couple of months, I'm guessing August, maybe July, but I'm thinking August, we're going to see the oral arguments take place, and it will be live streamed at the Court of Appeals, which is in downtown Atlanta. We can come here inside the law and we can watch those together too. Bring your popcorn. That's going to be a good show. And then a few months after that, you're going to get the ruling from the Court of Appeals. And let's just say the ruling is to boot Fani from the case. Fani gets to appeal. She can ask the Georgia Supreme Court to put her back on the case, and vice versa. If the defendants lose and Fani is ordered that she's staying on the case, then they're called the appellants. That's the criminal. That's Trump and Roman. Those are the folks that are seeking her disqualification. They could appeal. So whoever loses at the Court of Appeals level can at least ask the Georgia Supreme Court to again to appeal the case. The Supreme Court doesn't have to take it. It's completely discretionary. But I think in a case like this, they might very well take it. There won't be a trial this year, not at all in this case. We've got a big election coming up next week. Judge McAfee will know at the end of next week if he's going to be a judge in Fulton County anymore. If he loses, he'll be a judge till the end of the year. If he doesn't lose, I got to show you this for those of you who missed it. If he loses, this is his challenger. Okay. Robert Patillo. And this is one of Robert Patillo's social media posts before he became a judicial candidate. This is a man who has very, very deep loathing for the criminal defendant, in this case, Donald Trump. And so if Judge McAfee loses, that guy takes over Judge McAfee's caseload, including the Trump RICO case. How long will you think it's going to take before one of the parties files a motion to have him recused from the case? And unlike New York, judges don't get to hear those things for themselves. In Georgia, another judge has to decide that. So I imagine Patillo would be gone, but just a guess. It's going to be very interesting. Next week is the judicial elections in Georgia. We'll know more then. We'll come back here inside the law. We'll talk about that. But we have a lot of things happening still in the Georgia RICO case, the Fani Willis disqualification, things involving a lot of drama. Still a lot of drama that's left to happen, unfortunately, in this case. But nevertheless, we will be here inside the law every single step of the way with you. And to be honest with you, I didn't start this channel simply to talk about Fani Willis and Nathan Wade and Donald Trump and all these things. This happens to be the case that's one of the cases that's hot right now. But we're going to talk about other things. In Georgia, we've got the Lake and Riley case, the murder over in Athens, Georgia. Soon enough, we're going to have Hunter Biden's going to have a couple of trials getting underway this summer. We can talk about those. We can talk about when it kicks off. You've got the Idaho murders of the students out there. And just off the top of my head, those are some big name things. And so we can talk about all of those cases. And we can try to see what we can learn about the real justice system from in the context of looking at all those things. Again, please hit that like button, subscribe, tell your friends, your neighbors, anybody that will listen to you, ask them to please subscribe if they have any interest in this whatsoever. And we want to try to get to 30,000. Thank you for the super chats. If you want to support the channel, there are links provided in the descriptions to all the shows. And check out any other shows. Go back and look at them again to refresh yourself to some of these issues, because I do that when I want to figure out what we've talked about before, refresh my memory. I'll look at other videos that we've done, live or otherwise, because it's hard to keep all this in your head. But anyway, with that, I'm going to say good afternoon and thank you guys, all of you, for being here. And I will see you back here next time inside the loop.
Okay, I'm preparing the Nathan's. We're going to hear his 9 minutes of testimony. Yeah, Regina, I did a little video about it last night. I have a little video. It's in my videos. He won, and I just congratulated him and thanked him for keeping decorum and honor in the courtroom. I didn't name anybody, but I compared, so he knows. Basically, it's just that it's a shame the way that prosecutor office act, and it's a shame how Judge Glanville is actually working the prosecutor's case from the bench. And like I said, I know he has PTSD, but the ADA requires you to be able to do the job, and a lot of his things biased. It may not be. I think also he's afraid because of that case that he let that man go by doing a mistrial without, well, he should have done a mistrial, but he said he was going to put the man back on the docket. He was just going to put it on hold, which he didn't understand is when she called the mistrial that she was correct, and the man actually walked on appeal. So to me, he's doing everything that he felt he should have done in that case, but this is not that. So I just don't get how he's allowing dogmatic love, because she acts just like a pit bull gone crazy. The way she continues to argue when he tell her to stop. She continues to talk. She never stops. They are not supposed to bring in people into the case that will be, sensationalism and incriminating to the person that you're bringing in there to incriminate. Well, you really want to intimidate them as well. They're really, really, really all over the place, and you're talking about a circus. Ringling Brothers 3 ring, it's terrible. But let's listen to Nathan Wade here.
ABC News exclusive with former Fulton County Special Prosecutor Nathan Wade, who's breaking his silence after being forced to step down from a historic prosecution of former President Trump because of his romantic relationship with DA Fani Willis. In our wide-ranging interview, Wade talks about what he does and does not regret and where the case goes from here. What do you want people to know?
I want people to know the real me.
So there are those who say you weren't qualified for this case. How do you respond?
I respond by saying, let's give it some color. I defended murders, rapes, armed robbers, molesters, mostly criminal cases that dealt with high stakes, including life. The picture that was being painted, that there was no experience, is just not an accurate one.
You and Fani meet in 2019?
Yes, ma'am.
What was the extent of your relationship prior to November 1st of 2021?
We met at a judges conference. We stayed professional friends for quite a bit of time thereafter. Started to pick up a little bit when COVID started. We began to spend inordinate amounts of time communicating. During the course of the investigation, nights, weekends, evenings, mornings, I can't tell you how much time that we spent together. We got closer and closer and closer. Workplace romances are as American as apple pie. It happens to everyone. But it happened to the two of us.
Do you regret it?
I regret that private matter became the focal point of this very important prosecution. I hate that my personal life has begun to overshadow the true issues in the case.
But at some point, once that bond is there, and if democracy is on the line, as has been described, do you say, maybe we pause this until after the case is over?
Absolutely, absolutely. I'll concede that could have been an approach, but when you are in the middle of it, these feelings are developing, and you get to a point to where the feelings are so strong that you start to want to do things that really are none of the public's concern. It wasn't lost upon the two of us that things could bleed over into the case and start to affect it. And so we made the adult-like decision to do what we did.
Do what we did? What do you mean by that?
In terms of protecting the integrity of the case, keeping the rest of the office out of our personal and private lives, and at the point that we decided to discontinue the relationship, we did.
But it's my understanding that the relationship ended not because you were worried about it bleeding over, but you all just had differences of the value of a male and female in a relationship, that kind of thing, that you ultimately started having some heated conversations. But correct me if I'm wrong, was there a point that you all stopped because you said, this is inappropriate, this could impact the integrity of the case?
Okay, that's a lot there. So we didn't have heated conversations to the extent that we were at odds and arguing about the inherent roles of...
Well, I mean, Fani said on the witness stand, like, according to Mr. Wade, the only thing a woman can do is make me a sandwich, right? I mean, and she said, she's the one who described it as heated conversation.
She said that, listen, if I made a statement like that, certainly it was in jest. I respect women.
So just give me a sense of the timeline as far as when the romance actually started and then once it stopped.
So early 2022 to late 2023 is the time frame. What people don't see and don't know is that we continue to have a very close relationship. We are friends.
A Washington Post columnist wrote, "What were they thinking? How could two seasoned attorneys embroiled in the prosecution of a former president start a romance and not see this trouble coming a mile away?" And so what were you thinking in that moment?
You don't plan to develop feelings. You don't plan to fall in love. You don't plan to have some relationship in the workplace. That you don't set out to do that, and those things develop organically. They develop over time. And the minute we had that sobering moment, we discontinued it.
January 8th, a motion is brought that reveals that there's been this relationship. At that time, the relationship was over, correct? The romantic aspect of the relationship. Yes, ma'am. What was going through your mind on that day when it suddenly becomes, I know you've said before it wasn't a secret, but now it does become public?
Where is the relevance here? How does this in any way affect the prosecution of those charged in the election interference case?
So for 25 days, we didn't hear from you or District Attorney Willis. Why not come forward? At that point, you're a public servant, right? Getting paid from the state of Georgia. Why not say, okay, we'll make a statement, we'll get on top of this, we'll get ahead of this?
Let me say this. My conversation here with you today is just that. It's Nathan's conversation. I do not speak for the district attorney's office. I do not speak for their position. As a matter of fact, I'm certain that they would rather me not be having this exchange with you.
So you said you didn't want to violate the public's trust. I'm curious, do you think that you've done any kind of damage to this case?
None at all. None at all.
Even the public perception of it?
My private life became the focal point of the case. And my private life has nothing to do with the merits of that prosecution.
Donald Trump now is trying to get the judge's decision overruled. We'll find out in a week or so if Fani Willis gets to stay on the case. Do you feel, as we sit here today, that this case is in jeopardy? Because that issue is before the Court of Appeals currently, my goal is to protect the integrity of the process. I don't want to say anything that's going to jeopardize that, but Nathan Wade does not feel that the case is in any way in jeopardy. So you didn't realize when you took the case, your life was really going to be under a microscope? I did not realize that my life would be in danger. The microscope, I don't have a problem with. You're just like the rest of us on the outside looking in. I'm curious if you think that Donald Trump will be convicted. I believe and stand behind every bit of the work that was done while I was the special prosecutor on the case. And I believe that, there's going to be that day of reckoning where a Fulton County jury there in Fulton County, Georgia, would have to make that decision. What do you think is the greatest misconception about you? Issues surrounding my divorce. It's a difficult thing to watch and to hear. Watch and listen to your life play out before the American public inaccurately. Ultimately, as we sit here today, do you feel you've done anything wrong? Oh, wow. I don't feel as though I've done anything wrong. I feel like I have been, I guess, in my silence, I've been treated a bit unfairly, a bit harshly. What's next for you? Wow, the sky's the limit. I love the dynamics of the courtroom, but I'm also a people person. I enjoy people. And right now, I think it is just incumbent upon me to unplug, get away from all of it until I can clear my mind and make some rational decisions about next steps. Our thanks to Nathan Wade for the conversation. Some defendants in the case have taken pleas. Others, including Donald Trump, have entered pleas of not guilty.
Okay. That man there, he's really a trip. I tell you, he's a trip. Let's hear Fani. Now, this was the night before the election when she did this. She called Jim Jordan a clown on Rachel's show. Very disrespectful, which they seem to have no thought of respect. So let me take this down and let me bring this up.
Indicted by a federal grand jury for allegedly threatening Fulton County. Indicted by a federal.
Okay, they're going to talk about two people that were indicted for threatening her, and neither one of them are in Georgia, by the way, and that's what's amazing to me. All of this fear she's afraid of, this body security team for she and I guess her family separately, because it certainly can't be her family together because they don't live together. We don't know where she lived after Robin Yurti's condo, but wherever it is, her children aren't with her. And she's a mother, she says, and she's concerned about them, she says. Very hard to believe, but it may be true. I know she says she's a mother, so I know how mothers are because I'm one. But be that as it may, at one point in my life, I was a Happy Meal mom, so I know how it goes all the way around the spectrum. But here we go. Fani Willis, proud.
Grand jury for allegedly threatening Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. The U.S. Attorney's Office for the Northern District of Georgia says the man railed against D.A. Willis's prosecution of former President Donald Trump in YouTube live streams. At one point, he's accused of saying D.A. Willis will, quote, be killed like a dog. He's set to be formally arraigned in Atlanta next month.
California man indicted earlier this month is the second person to face federal criminal charges for threatening to kill Fulton County DA Fani Willis. The first was a man from Alabama. Together, they represent a small fraction of the threats that Fani Willis has received in the 9 months since she began prosecuting Donald Trump and in the couple of years since she first started investigating that matter. She travels with bodyguards. She's been forced to leave her home. All this while former President Trump continues to attack her relentlessly to his supporters. And as Republicans at the county, state, and federal level do everything they can to undermine and impugn and stymie her work and smear her personally. This level of sustained public attack is not usually the price of entry for doing your job as a district attorney, nor should it be in a country where the rule of law is supposedly the rule. The ability of prosecutors and judges to do their jobs without fear is a fundamental test of our democracy. Whether you like the Georgia criminal case against former President Trump or not, Fani Willis is one of the bellwethers for the rule of law in this country. Back with us now is the Fulton County District Attorney, Ms. Willis. Ms. Willis, I was interested to see in the Atlanta Journal-Constitution today, there were 3 Democratic state senators who published an opinion piece saying, quote, we are witnessing a concerted effort by Trump and MAGA Republican politicians to cast doubt on the legitimate and strong Fulton County election interference case by attacking the prosecutor. It's an effort that takes advantage of every avenue of government power to which Trump's allies have access. Their goal, delay accountability for Trump's alleged attempt to illegally overturn a presidential election. This strikes me very close to my heart because I feel like this is one of the first times I've seen people standing up for you on this point. I wanted to ask how it strikes you. Do you agree with their assessment of what's going on?
Well, as you know, let's start with the federal government and Jim Jordan. Jim Jordan has time after time after time attacked my office with no legitimate purpose. Anyone who knows Jim Jordan's history knows that he only has the purpose of trying to interfere in a criminal investigation. He has now turned his tricks to, he's going to look at grant programs, which I invite him to do, and we have complied with his subpoenas, but yet he continues his attacks to try to interfere in a criminal investigation, while his jurisdiction has one of the worst crime rates, has poverty issues, and not one time has he used his position to try to investigate people who are attacking me and attacking others legitimately doing their jobs, making him illegitimate in his position, and it's disgusting. And so I bring that up at the federal level because now at the state level, they've decided to follow this clown's lead. And they want to now try to interfere in an investigation, and it's not legitimate either. And so it shall fail. And it's not going to go anywhere. But they are trying to attack me at every level. As you know, today is an exciting day for me because I'm on a ballot tomorrow. And I have a Democratic challenger, and I plan to win and win big tomorrow. But I also have a Republican challenger coming up in November who's unqualified, been practicing law for less than 4 years, has never practiced criminal law, but has already got PACs supporting her, already has the National the National Republican Party, as well as the local Republican Party supporting her. And so I am thankful to those 3 Democrats who stood up for what is right. But I am at a point where I need Fulton County voters to get out and vote. I need people around the country to support me, big and small, to say that we are going to be a country that still believes in the rule of law. We are not going to allow people to be attacked while they do their job. Having prosecutors that are free from interference and are allowed to just look at cases, look at the facts, and if people broke the law to bring charges, has to go on for us to live in a free society. The sad part, though, for all of them, Ms. Maddow, is it doesn't matter how many times they attack me. I am not going to be broken, and I am going to still be standing here doing my job lawfully.
Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis, I know it's a very busy time with primary tomorrow and with everything going on in your life and the slings and arrows that you are dealing with. Thank you for being willing to talk with me and my audience tonight about this, and good luck to you. Stay safe.
Stay safe. She go all over the world in swimsuits, and she got to stay safe. Yes, that's the only thing she's the queen of. So we're going to get ready to close. But before we close, we got to listen to this. And we've got to listen to this, speech that this woman made last night. And perhaps the people believe that because she was speaking to the people, I guess. I know she doesn't believe that, and it's good she's a good speaker, though. You know, that's one good thing. I mean, she's not a great speaker, but she come across good. So, that's good. I guess that's, you got to have something. That's good. I'm sorry, y'all. I forgot to add her in. I thought I had added her in. Sorry about that. Just blame it on my old timers. Or my sometimers. Let's start all over. Y'all got to see this from front to back, side to side.
The race was called for Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. Let's listen in.
Oh.
She said, I don't know about y'all, but I love my man. Now, she never did say God or Jesus. She just said she loved her man.
Wow.
The race was called for Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis. Let's listen in.
Oh, wow. Can I take my time? I am just so humbled and so grateful to the citizens of Fulton County who made this possible. Tonight, they delivered a strong and a powerful message. They want a district attorney that believes everyone deserves to be safe and everyone is entitled to some dignity. And it's a message that's pissing folks off, but there is no one above the law in this country, nor is there anyone beneath it. You all, 4 years ago when I came and took this seat, me and that man over there, Chief Meadows of the city of South Fulton, we were really frustrated because we were telling people there was a gang problem. And people were acting like we had two heads. They said there was a gang problem in Chicago. There was a gang problem in LA, might have been a gang problem in DC, but there was not a gang problem in Atlanta. And we were saying, no, there is. And if you don't deal with reality, reality will deal with you. And so we put into effect a balanced approach. But I need everyone in here to understand, this is just a pause. We are not to the end of the road. In fact, I submit to you, we're at the beginning. The campaign does not end tonight. It begins tonight. And so right here tonight, this is a fundraiser in case you're confused. If you left some money at the door, go back and leave some more. I got 2 stores going on. Go and buy a t-shirt because you're going to need to wear it. Because we in this fight for the long haul. You all, in all seriousness, my opponent has super PACs already supporting her. The Republican Party of this country and the state have already supported her. But right here is a grassroots campaign. Nobody is supporting me but the people of Fulton County. And so we need you all the way in. If you believe this campaign, a very brilliant woman last night, Rachel Maddow, said that this campaign and this movement is the bellwether of democracy. And we need you to support us. 4 years ago, you elected me as DA to bring crime down. And I think you've heard we've done just that. But I need to remind you of where we were 4 years ago. Not only was crime just going wild, we also were in a state where George Floyd had just been murdered, and it was on the back of many, many atrocities. And as a result of these ugly, ugly things that were happening in our communities, people were dissatisfied with law enforcement and the justice system. And guess what? They were right. There was no reason to have this. Also, there are many here that are on my team, and they know we walked into a district attorney's office that was completely broken. But if I didn't do anything else right, I put together a team of fierce warriors, and they are making a tremendous difference, changing the challenges. Let me say that for you again, what the mayor said. Homicides are down 21%. That means mamas is going home hugging their babies. You understand? Those aren't just numbers. That means mamas are attending their sons' graduations. They're going to their children's weddings. They are enjoying just having Sunday dinner, not buying caskets. I need you to understand that violent crime all over is down 25%. Rape is down 49%. Some of you will say, the doubters will say, well, crime is down all over the country. Yeah, it's down 5%. We're doing something right here in Fulton County. Understand, we have the third largest crime drop in America. We only chasing San Antonio, Texas, and Arlington, Texas, and they about to be in my rear view if you know me. We've done this by unapologetically going after violent criminals and the powerful, no matter how powerful they think they are, while giving first-time offenders a second chance. We've developed programs for young people. I have the REACH program. It is the only program like that in the country where a DA's office is in the school system all year long. And folks challenge me on my budget, but Akeem, what I tell them? I'd rather see them in the classroom than in the courtroom. And this balanced approach is working because we are making tremendous progress. But please understand, I'm just getting started. Making this community safer. And this election is bringing into focus very important matters about who matters. Should your safety depend on your zip code? What about your race? Should it depend on who you choose to love? Should it depend on if you're male or female? Bishop, I think it should apply to all of them. What you think, Bishop Jackson? I want you all to understand, hear it now. My opponent is completely unqualified. Completely. She has less than 4 years of practicing law. She has never been in a criminal courtroom. But while she is inexperienced and unqualified and does not represent the values of my county, don't get confused. She is a real threat because of who backs her and how they back her. She does not have allegiance to the people of my county. She has allegiance to politics and the powerful's interests. Oh, y'all read between the lines. She doesn't believe that everyone is afforded equal protection of the law. She doesn't believe in accountability. She will not do the hard work that is required of a district attorney that wants to make Fulton safer. And I want you to understand, this work is hard. Now, some say that we must choose between safety and justice, but I'm here to tell you they are wrong. What they are really saying, I want y'all to hear me. What they are really saying is that certain people matter less, that certain people's children matter less. I reject that. We cannot accept violence against anyone, including the impoverished, including minorities, including homosexuals, transsexuals, not anyone, and not women. As Matthew chapter 25, verse 45 says, truly I tell you, whatever you did not do for one of the least of these, you didn't do for me. But as we have labored in the vineyards of justice, I have been under constant attack. Y'all, they done called me everything but a child of God. I've had to move out of my home where I raised my two beautiful daughters. From the bottom of my heart, Chief Meadows, I will never be able to thank you enough for your team of servants that every day, folks don't know, twice a day, you had bomb dogs at my house. They don't know that you constantly kept the police on me. They don't know that Chief Shearbaum made sure when I got to that courthouse I was safe. They don't know the team that it took just to make sure I kept breathing. And I owe you and Chief Shearbaum and law enforcement my life. You are absolutely my hero, and I would not have gotten through this without you. But even with all the threats on my life, it is nothing compared to what the victims of violent crime in Fulton County have too often experienced. The deep sadness that comes with being made a victim. See, this is what they don't understand. They can attack us, they can beat us down, but they will not succeed. See, they don't know the fire that I come from. They don't know that Brother John Floyd. But this is the fire that we are made from. All the attacks in the world can't stop us, and they will not stop us. This is a fight for safety. It's a fight for justice. But it's a fight for the rule of law. And we are just at the beginning of this fight. So I ask you to dig deep and keep fighting. Y'all missed it, it's a store in the back. I want to thank my supporters. I want to thank my daughters who have gone through things 20-year-olds should not have to go through. I want to thank my father who had to be displaced, who had to literally monitor my house just to make sure his child was okay. I have a really deep thank you to my friend and my partner, Mayor Andre Dickens, and a hero of mine, former Mayor Shirley Franklin. I want to once again thank Chief Darren Shearbaum, who when Dre put him as the chief, instantly said, I'm in this fight with you, and I recognize there's a gang problem. I want to thank Chief Meadows and my sheriff, Sheriff Labatt, for all their inexhaustible leadership and for the courage that they've had to do to keep me safe. Bishop Jackson, thank you for always sending those text messages, all the prayers, making sure you rounded up the faith leaders, and that I had your support. From my pastor, Pastor Pollard, I love you and your wife. Thank you for taking care of me. To so many other religious leaders, Pastor Flippin, who I saw on here tonight, who've been with me when I'm winning and when I'm losing. Thank you for always standing with me. I want to deeply thank the brave women and men who serve as district attorneys and investigators in this county. Can y'all give them a round of applause? In case y'all don't know, we the best to ever do it. You heard what I said? We the best to ever do it. To my campaign team, Charlie Bailey, Keisha Carter, Jeremy Howard Harris, Chris Hutman. We did that. I think they said 90, that's what I heard. Lastly, thank you to my dad for teaching me that everyone is entitled to dignity and everyone deserves justice. Thank you to my children for giving me the inspiration to keep getting up and doing this job. In the words of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., the arc of the moral universe is long, but it always bends towards justice. So ladies and gentlemen, tonight, every now and then you get to stop and smell the roses. And tonight we're gonna stop and smell these roses. We are going to celebrate, we're gonna party. The DA drinking Grey Goose, in case anybody wondering. We got a different kind of DA down here in the dirty, dirty South. But tonight we're gonna party, we're gonna celebrate these victories, we're gonna go to that store out there, and we're gonna wake up tomorrow and fight harder. Thank you. Let's have a good night.
Y'all heard it for yourself. So we got a Grey Goose DA. That's making decisions on people's lives. And then we applaud that type of stupidity. It's not another politician do we know what type of alcohol they like. Boy, it's amazing. Yep, she is. All of her hypocrisy and lies. They applaud Grey Goose liquor. Yep. She looked at Nathan when she said that. Yeah, baby, she ready to party. I tell you, they probably finna go visit one of them continents since he been on 6. They might finna go and skate through Antarctica. You never know. It's a little crazy out here. But I don't know. I just try to bring another perspective and to look at reality, the harsh reality. I don't know why people are not interested in this woman getting rid of all of that money and none of the people's living conditions have changed. As a matter of fact, they're in dire straits. And they think that this is really, good. I don't know what happened in Atlanta, but I know in all urban areas, we have the same problem. And I think Redalia's attorney, said poverty. He named 3 things. The poor, something else, and opportunity is what they do, the opportunity they have to do against us, I guess the people. And she wants them to read between the lines. She's constantly throwing that dig out there. She wants it to be about race. And that's not going to get her the win. It's not going to do it. But she sure going for it. She going for the jugular. Now she gonna really have some stuff to answer to. The stuff they doing in that courtroom, the way they keep bringing all those people, playing on the jury sympathies and stuff, that's really highly against the Constitution. And she keeps talking about she's a constitutional officer, as if they give her license to not uphold the Constitution. She says that like it gives her the right to break the law. And I guess she said since y'all had to go get y'all daddy, I guess she said daddy been doing it this way all these years. Why y'all mad at little old me? Because we thought you would get there and do it right. But of course we see that ain't how it works. But they'll let them get away with all of this crazy and shenanigans until they get ready to pull the cord. And when the cord is pulled, they all fall down. It's unfortunate, but that's the way it is. So that's a look into the side chick in the blue dress, the adulterous husband in the blue suit, and the beautiful ill wife who's fighting for her health and her life and her children. And her husband out here fighting to get another round of, I don't guess he drank the goose, but get him another round so he can keep up with the loose goose. I try not to I try my very best not to go there with people. But she makes it awfully hard. And she wear it proudly. That's what's so sad about it. And like you said, Regina, she knows who the danger is. But what they don't understand, if they can indict a ham sandwich, then anybody can take office and be whatever they want to be. All they have to do is win the vote. And one thing my brother said that they came up with was they don't mind you voting. Not at all. Just let them count them. Because the same election that she's talking about in 2020, remember I did a feature on 270 some odd thousand votes that were not verified. The signatures, those are not votes anyway. So this all is going to be a very ugly, ugly thing once it all unfolds. And y'all lift those young men up in the YSL. Those young men, some of them are real hardened criminals, and they have been given time. They've served their time. And they have them up on conspiracy through RICO, which they went back and got those guys' crimes that they've served. And to me, that's double jeopardy, but they bring in another statute, so they're saying it's not, but I can't see that in line with the Constitution. And Liquid Concrete be putting out some good stuff talking about this group, Alec. I don't know anything about it, but what she says, and she's been doing some good work on, those are a lot of the people that got together, and they own the private prisons. And a lot of the athletes and entertainers were a part of flipping hip-hop to where everybody is doing what now they're accusing them of, and these people are violating these people's constitutional rights by taking creative lyrics and using them as if they're actually current events, even though they could be singing about some real events. That don't mean they participated in the events. When you know a story and can tell one, you can make anything happen. And again, I don't try to wipe away anything that those guys have done. They did that. I hope the little guy DK get to go on and be great for his children. Just be great for himself. These are not bad people. These are kids that grew up poor, on the same street, in the same neighborhood, and did some bad things. And they paid for it. And some of them kept paying for it because a lot of them had drug problems as well. This is the only courtroom where your drugs does not take away your character. Everywhere else, if you did drugs, then you can't, say what you did and didn't do. They hold these people, you talking about to the letter and the rule of the law. That's what they're holding them to, under the influence of heavy narcotics. And that's sad. We even have a commercial with an egg. This is your brain on drugs, frying. But not these young men. They're expected to be Rhodes Scholars on drugs and without an education. A lot of them didn't get past the 7th grade. It's really sad. Maybe if Fani would have used the grants her office was awarded for youth programs that she never used towards, and the funds mysteriously disappeared and are misappropriated, she would be talking gangs. That's true. And what's amazing is if y'all just look at those, I did a video, if y'all just look at those hearings and see how ignorant. And in the sense of ignorant, I'm talking about not knowing, unlearned. The commissioner, chairman of the board, looks. He doesn't like what's going on, but he knows that he has no power. And a lot of that is, of course, interpretation. And what she ought to know is, she's an attorney. The interpretation comes from who? The judges. And so quite naturally, they're going to interpret something different for their system than for you. That's nothing new. You should be in there in the bargaining and holding them to. They politicized everything. So they can stop talking about everybody is faithful and good faith and honorable and trustworthy. The only people expected to be that way are us. The ones who are getting beat upside our heads. The one who can't afford to live. Everything's going up but incomes. It's unbelievable. But it's the American way. Everybody get reparations. Everybody get grants. I don't know if y'all have seen it, but it's been inundating all of the different social media platforms, talking about some monies that the government was supposed to have been giving away, like a stimulus. And it's so many commercials, it make you almost want to dial that number and get your free money. But you know that nothing in life is free. Freedom is not free. She wouldn't be talking so much about gangs. That's right. Creating something that real racists created as a stereotype towards blacks and other people of color, low income ethnicities. That's true. She don't care nothing about no gangs. I played in that video where she abolished the gang unit that they had to help with the gangs. And then she hired Miss Tipson, Amanda Tipson, to do juvenile diversion. And she thought she was going to be a good way for her to wash away some money. But it didn't work like that because she had integrity and honor. So she got angry and got rid of her. And then they say, she said up on that speech, the men and women of the DA's office are great. Yeah, they're great today. They're not going to be great. They're going to be just like all them guys they're offering those plea deals to. They going to turn. They going to flip. So you best believe. We might not see it today, and we might not see it tomorrow. But if we keep living, as the old folks say, I guarantee you we'll see it. In the sweet. So I hope you all enjoyed the show tonight. I certainly enjoyed bringing it to you. I greatly appreciate you, Regina, for all you do and the good topics that you give me. I'll be sometimes right on them. But I greatly appreciate all of your help and encouragement. All of my mods, I appreciate every last one of you all. If you're in here, if you're not, I appreciate you. I thank everybody in the bushes, everybody that hit the like button. Consider subscribing and joining my membership. It really helps. It helps me. I don't have a lot of traffic, so I don't get a lot of... Being in the partner program is almost like not being in the partner program for me. But yet I rise. I am a phenomenal woman, and I will continue to come the only way I know how. I just don't feel good with the clickbaiting and taking shots, and although people say I do that all the time, I don't believe that, but that's what they say. They are entitled to their opinion. But I can't just do it I don't have that heart. So I'm going to continue to do it this way. We'll continue being over here quietly, teaching truth and encouraging you to research for yourself and learn the system. It works if you work it, it won't if you don't. So I suggest that you learn and work it because you're worth it. Sometimes it gets overwhelming when you start discovering truth, even the truth about yourself. It's painful sometimes, but it's called taking responsibility and accountability. And you owe no man nothing but love for one another. But you gotta love you first. So, I love you because you are of the creation. I don't like a lot of people because of their behavior. But love is free. And what did I say? Even free ain't free. It costs somebody something. Somewhere. So, I'll play my little children are our future. And we'll get ready to leave the tiger's den. I greatly appreciate you all. Y'all don't understand. Sometimes the night before it's time for me to go on, I'm up all night because my head is wired a little different than most, and I have all these ideas, and I have to have it so meticulously right. And since I cannot edit, I have to go and look at these videos and pick where I want to be and whatever. And I don't get a lot of sleep. But my sleep patterns have been off for many years because I've worked all kind of shifts. In my latter years before I retired, which I've been retired for 13, so you know your days and nights run together. But I worked night shift, evening shift, morning shift, half shift, no shift. So your sleep patterns get off. But again, I enjoy what I do. Thank you, Regina. I do have my AdSense. I didn't get a check this month, but every now and then you guys surprise me, and with your donations to the Cash App, well, not the Cash App, donations to the Super Chats and the memberships really helps me. So I appreciate any and everything. I did do this as another stream of income. Sometimes it seems like it's costing me more than actually what I'm receiving. But what I receive is y'all presence, and somebody will always say something in the comments to let me know that they really appreciate the way I break things down and the way I help them. And so, you know, we always love to make this little old saying, but do we really mean it? I really mean it. If I can just help one person, but I'm definitely trying to help more than one. But if I can just help one to see something different, do something different, and get a different result, well done in my mind. Because I had to fight almost my whole life on public jobs. The only thing is fair is you. The world ain't fair. You befriend people here on YouTube. I go and support a lot of people. They don't even come and look. They don't even give you a like and an emoji. And a lot of these people go on 2 and 3 times a day. So I understand they really just don't have time to look at my videos like I do theirs. But they do know my presence because I've donated in their super chats or whatever. They don't do that. I've joined a few of them memberships. They've never joined mine. So you learn that this is a business. But I think people are just playing to their base, and their base is the people. They really don't care about content creators because they think everybody is like them. And I don't know the motives of people's hearts. I just know the behavior. I can see the content of their character. And a lot of them that have big numbers that you go and you admire, they're not good people. And they're really not worthy of your time and your thoughts. But we get on here for anybody to come and to look and to support. I envy no one, because one thing my mom taught me, don't envy nobody for what they have, because you may not be willing to pay the price that they're willing to pay. And 9 times out of 10, I can guarantee you I'm not. So, just keep coming back. Hopefully you'll keep learning something. I'll give you my best, and I appreciate your best, and that's your time, your like, your comment. Even if you don't comment, I know you're here, because I can tell I only have X amount of people, and when I look at my likes, I have more than what I know that was in my chat. That means a lot to me. And the likes, the comments, the communication, the engagement, it really helps YouTube to push our videos out. Some do good, some not so good, but I'm grateful for every one and happy to bring them to you. Okay, the reason you have to fight for what's right on the job is because a lot of people on the job is not right. And it goes back to, I give an example. If you've ever worked on a public job, and let's say you have caseloads. Everybody have their own desk and their own caseloads. And you at work and you see the other people at work and you assume that they working because you know you working. And then for some reason they have to get off work. Let's say they may get sick and they have to be off work for a period of time. It could be 7 days, it could be 3 days. But whatever the amount of days that they have to be off work, you're responsible for helping keep their desk afloat. That's amazing how when it's your turn to be off, nobody can help you because everybody got their own caseload. But for some reason, when these people are off work, you have to assist in keeping their work up to par. And then you get in there and realize that their work is subpar. They're not even doing everything that's supposed to be done on the job. That causes dissension. It causes problems. You have bosses who see your potential. They see the star in you. All you're doing is your job. They get envious. And then they start writing you up. Some bosses won't allow you to move up. Not because you're not worthy and you're not good. It's because you're their worker bee. And if you're doing all the work and you leave, then who's going to make them look good? And most of the people that I had to fight look just like me. I mean, just like me. Both men and women. And I've had several jobs where I was the only Asiatic there. And I had an issue or two, but it was nothing like working for someone that looks like you, that perhaps moved up in the company and they don't know how to separate now that they're in management and you are no longer their peer. They kind of let that go to their heads. Some people expect too much from someone that promoted up, but most of the time those people that promote lose their heads and start acting like this woman. Everybody pretend they're doing the best for the collective, but are they really? mainly people are for themselves. And you get to see that in the workplace because that's where you spend the majority of your time with people. Unless you're a child and then you spend the majority of your time awake with your peers in school. That's why you have to be on purpose in people's lives. It's no happenstance. You got to be on purpose. People are in your lives because you want them to be, and they want to be there. Nobody has to be. Oh, I understand. However, as I have said previously, we can be talking about politics. However, some don't realize that there are many forms of politics. Yes, and I call that egotrix with a capital N. Because a lot of us don't even understand the dynamics of the politics and the power structure that goes with that. And I'm the kind of person that gets to work and sit at their desk. I don't visit and all that kind of stuff. Now, people do come and say hello to me and stuff, but I guess my biggest problem was sometimes going on smoke break. And I had some real awesome managers and I had some terrible ones, but my awesome managers, I guess I'm like everybody else. I really, really took advantage of my privileges. I really did. But I didn't mistreat people. I didn't steal. I took advantage of my opportunities. If I had an opportunity to do it, you better believe I was found doing it. And I did it well. But it's really strange how we all come from nothing. And we get one or two little things, and now we're better than everybody we ever thought we knew. We can't have real conversations. We talk about the plight of our children, but nobody wants to discuss the children. What's really going on? The family dynamics. Nobody really want to talk about it. And certainly don't want to come up with solutions to bring a resolve to some things. We just don't want to do that for some reason. But again, I'm going to bid everybody a good night. Look forward to seeing you guys again on Sunday. And on that note, I'm leaving the Tiger's Den. I believe the children are our future. Teach them well and let them lead the way. Show them all the beauty they possess inside. Give them a sense of pride to make it easier. Let the children's laughter remind us who we used to be. Everybody's searching for a hero. People need someone to look up to. I never found anyone to fulfill my needs. A lonely place to be. So I learned to depend on me. I decided long ago never to walk in anyone's shadow. If I failed, if I succeed, at least I'll live as I believe. No matter what they take from me, they can't take away my dignity, because the greatest love of all is happening to me. I found the greatest love of all inside of me. The greatest love of all is easy to achieve. Learning to love yourself is the greatest love of all. And if by chance that special place that you've been dreaming of takes you to a lonely place, find yourself in love.